Welcome to Emerald Lake. We're just having a little bit of chat before we started, and I'm wondering if we'll pick back up the what's your favorite book chat that we had previously. I've listed a few of the books that I thought of at the time, and it was mostly Greek myths. I think it's because we had read a story that was very it was very clearly European storytellers, like the Grimm's books, but not the Grimm specifically, that had collected things, and they had just turned Greek stories into one amalgamation that was a mess and like barely not Greek. It was like a bunch of Greek raccoons in a trench coat. It was very silly. You suck at reading? That's fair. Have you tried audiobooks for that? And if that is harder to focus on, what I like to do is do something physically with my hands, because yeah, I get it. Exactly. But I do the doing something with your hands while listening to the book, and that usually gets my focus perfect. It's just that sort of, you keep one piece of your weird little brain busy, and then the rest of it can be like actually listening, and there you go. I often have the trouble of not being able to focus on a new book, but once I've like gotten into one, then I can like only think that book, and I can't even every once in a while something will happen around me and I'll get a little bit pulled out of the book, and I'll be like, oh my god, I'm here? Since when? No, I'm not. But I have to get into it to get to that full focus. It was a lot easier when I was younger, because I would just disappear immediately in a book. Now it's the focus is just too wily. Can't pin it down. Well, hello everyone's. We read stories the Iroquois tell their children last night. We'll read more tonight. We'll probably finish this off. And then I have the book that one of the stories referenced, and we'll read some of those too. Or we could read a couple of other things. I'll get a vote at the end, and it depends on how much time there is, because we could read a couple more little things before the next book. I don't know. Looks like there's a lot more of these little stories in that other book. We certainly wouldn't be able to finish that one. And of course, this is actually my last stream until my trip, and then I'll be gone for a little while. So, whoop. You won't get stories live from me for a while. You can watch the videos back on Twitch or on YouTube though. With that, I'm glad you guys are here, that are here with me. I keep saying you guys. I do mean in the genderless sense. I should say you folk. You folk are here. But, oh, of course, no worries, JB. Yeah, I hope you can pop back in before it ends as well. But if not, that's alright. I'll see you in the chat after I'm back. Alright. I'll just run an ad and then jump into the stories, because I like getting them sorted early. Because I really hate getting interrupted with them, and they give you lots of time if you run it early. Oh yeah, Fetster never responded. Um, Death Noah, if your name is Death Noah on Discord, I can do that when we do the little break. I can get that sorted. I had tagged you because Death Noah wanted to send something along over Discord. Oh, you're fine. Don't worry. But I think I can find things. Oh, right. I don't know how to do this. Death Noah, is your name on Discord just exactly the same? And I'll run a quick ahead. Okay, then I'm sending the friend request to you, and you should be able to send that along just fine. Do that. Okay. Yeah, I figured. That's why I went looking for Death Noah. Yeah. And you'll have lots of time to fiddle with it. I was like, is it enough to just put the one person in? I don't know. But okay. What? Thanks. Stop jumping around on me. Yeah, so you can send things along there. Oh my gosh, what the heck? Okay. And I'll put that tab away, and now we can start reading the stories. So, where we left off with the stories was the next one was going to be Greedy Fawn and the Porridge. So that's what we're gonna read next, and I'll just put that on. Still learning the new keyboard, and I found that the symbols on the keyboard, you know, the secondary ones specifically, they're not actually what it says it is, and I think I've set things up wrong, and I have to do that again, because I'm clearly somewhat technology averse. Just a bit. Honestly, it's a good feat that I've managed to be doing all I have. All the technical issues I sorted out, getting the model up is a good sign that I did good. Me struggling with a keyboard is more average what I'm like with this. Okay, Greedy Fawn and the Porridge. In the days when there was no one living in this country but the Indians, there were no houses. There were only Indian wigwams. There were no roads and no streets, but Indian trails. At that time, there grew a wonderful chestnut, which the Indians used in their cooking. A very small bit of this chestnut grated into a kettle would make a pot full of porridge. In a certain wigwam lived Deerheart and Sky Elk and their little son, Greedy Fawn. The mother was called Deerheart because she was so loving, gentle, and kind. The father was named Sky Elk because he was so strong and fleet of foot. Greedy Fawn, too, came rightly by his name. You will soon know why. One day, Deerheart and Sky Elk went on a long trail. As they left the wigwam, they said to Greedy Fawn, "Do not touch the chestnut, do not build a fire while we are away." Greedy Fawn promised. He watched his father and mother disappear down the western trail. Then he went back to the wigwam. Now, thought he, I will have all the porridge I want. So he ran and gathered some sticks. He built a fire with the sticks. Then he hung the kettle over the fire and put some water in it. Then he found the chestnut. He grated a little of the chestnut into the kettle and began to stir. Then he grated some more, and some more, and some more. Faster and faster greedy Fawn stirred the boiling porridge, for it began to swell and fill the kettle. Larger and larger it grew, and it grew, and it grew. Greedy Fawn was so frightened he did not know what to do. Oh, will it never stop swelling, he thought. Harder and harder he stirred to keep the porridge from boiling over. Beads of perspiration ran down his little bronze face, yet still he stirred. He dared not stop. Then he remembered that sometimes his mother would rap the kettle with a porridge stick if it became too full. Rap, rap, rap went the porridge stick on the edge of the kettle. Instantly the kettle began to swell. Larger and larger and larger it grew. Greedy Fawn was so frightened he did not know what to do. Now Greedy Fawn could not reach across the kettle to stir the porridge with his stick, so he began to run around it, and around and around and around the kettle he ran, stirring and stirring and stirring. At last the kettle was so large that it nearly filled the wigwam. There was just space enough left for Greedy Fawn to run around it, and around and around and around the kettle he ran, stirring and stirring and stirring. Oh, how his little arms ached, and oh, how tired his small legs were. But still he ran. He dared not stop. Here was porridge enough to last a small boy a lifetime, and he could not stop to taste one mouthful. At last Greedy Fawn could run no longer. He stumbled and fell by the side of the kettle. He was too weak to rise. The stick fell from his hand, and the porridge boiled on. Higher and higher and higher it rose, until it ran over and down the sides of the kettle. Closer and closer the boiling porridge crept to the little Indian boy, and soon Greedy Fawn and his stick were nearly buried in porridge. For once Greedy Fawn had all the porridge he wanted, and never again would he have wanted anything, had not Deerheart and Sky Elk heard his cries and came running like deer up the trail to save him. The end. So it all grew way too much, and he's lucky his parents came to get him. That's all. But cute. Very cute. Why hounds outrun other animals is the next one. Ooh, what just happened? I hit enter without realizing it. Okay. Why hounds outrun other animals. A hound was chasing a hare through the woods. Some wolves and panthers were chasing a bull that had been feeding in the valley near the woods. For some time they had been trying to run him down, but they did not seem to gain on him. When the wolves and panthers saw that they were not gaining on the bull, they halted to take counsel. They decided that it would take a whole day of hard running to get the bull, and a hound was near. Why not go for the hound? All agreed. They set off for the hound. Now the bull had heard the wolves and panthers take counsel, and he too set off for the woods. As he neared the wood, the bull called to the hound and warned him that a pack of wolves and panthers was after him. Just then they came into sight. The hound dared not meet them alone, and he knew not which way to turn. Then the bull called, "Come, jump on my back. I can outrun them." The hound ran and leaped on the back of the bull, and away they went. The bull and the hound talked as they ran. The bull said he thought the wolves would soon grow tired, fall back and give up the chase. But he was wrong. They were too angry at being outwitted. "You think to take our game from us," they howled at the bull, "but we will eat hound meat tonight." The bull saw it was a run for life. All day he ran. For a time it was easy to outrun the wolves and panthers, but at last they began to press hard upon him. As the sun dropped out of the sky, the bull felt his knees begin to weaken. The weight of the hound was telling on him. A moment later he stumbled and fell. In an instant the pack was upon them, but with one leap the hound cleared the pack and was off down the trail. The weaker wolves and panthers leaped upon the bull. The stronger went on. But now the best of them were no match for the hound. He was fresh and strong, for he had been riding all day. They were tired and worn from the long chase, and soon they gave it up. Because the hound is able to save his strength for the end of the chase, he can now outrun not only wolves and panthers, but all other animals. The end. Really cute little very short one so far tonight, and I think it'll keep up. Why Indians Never Shoot Pigeons is the next one. Right. An Indian hunter went into the forest in search of game. The forest was so large that it would have taken 3 days to journey through it. All day he followed the track of the deer, but his arrows brought him no food. At night he came to a dark, swift-running stream. He was tired and hungry. "Here," said he, "I will lie down and rest until sunrise." He began to search for a bed of pine needles, for the Indian loves the pine tree. It is his friend by day and by night. By day it is his forest guide. At night it gives him a soft, sweet-smelling bed on which to sleep, and it shields him from the storm. The hunter ran along the stream. It was very dark. He felt no soft pine needles under his moccasined feet, only the knotted roots of trees. Suddenly the great roots of an oak tree reached out and caught him. He could not free his foot from the oak's grasp. The sun rose and set. The great tree still held the hunter fast. He was weak from pain and hunger. It was now 2 days since he had tasted food. 4 notches had been cut in his stick, for the Indian measures time this way. Each sunrise and sunset, when he is on the trail, is marked by a notch on a small stick which he carries. 3 times did the sun again rise and set, yet the tree did not let go its hold. There were now 10 notches on the stick, and the hunter was so weak that he could scarcely cut the last one. As the sun rose on the 5th day, a bird flew into the tree. He saw the hunter lying on the ground and came close and spoke to him. The hunter understood, for in those days men and birds could talk together. The bird asked the man what he could do for him, and the hunter whispered, "You are strong. You can fly a long trail. Go and tell the chief of my people." The bird flew away swiftly with a message. He did not wait until the sun was high. He did not stop to eat one berry or one worm. He did not fly high, nor fly low to talk with the other birds. He went straight to the people the hunter had told him of. The west wind tried to blow him back. A black cloud came up to frighten him, but he went through it. On and on and on he went. Straight to the wigwam of the chief, he carried his message. The chief had called together the young men who were fleet of foot and was about to send them forth to the lost hunter. They were asking the chief what trails they had best take before the chief could reply. A beautiful dove-colored bird had flown close to his ear and had spoken to him in soft, low tones. The chief told the young men what the bird had said, and they set off on the trail that the bird had named. Before sunset they had found the lost hunter. Carefully they freed him from the grasp of the oak tree and bore him to his people. That night there was a feast and a dance in his honor. Ever since, the Indians have loved the birds that carry the messages, and they never shoot a pigeon. The end. Don't shoot the messenger. Okay, the next one is how Old Man Winter was driven back. One-handed typing. Okay. Hey, hello, hello. Every time you enter with the root beer and Pringles, stop making me hungry. We're just about to start this next story, Ignis. Ugh, my brain. Far away in the north sky lives Old Man Winter. Every year he leaves his wigwam in the sky and comes to Earth. At the foot of a mountain he builds a lodge of ice and snow which no human being, animal, or bird can enter. There he lives for a time. North Wind is the only friend of Old Man Winter. When he passes near Old Man Winter's lodge, he gives a loud shriek, and with his blustering breath he blows open the door and enters. Near a fire which glows but does not warm, North Wind finds a seat. There he and Old Man Winter sit and smoke and lay their plans for the next snowstorm. When the council is ended, North Wind departs to drive up the snow and hail from the corners of the earth. Old Man Winter also leaves his lodge. He stalks over the mountains and valleys of the Red Children. The land becomes white with his breath. The rivers are stilled, and all the voices of the wood are hushed as he passes. A deep sleep falls upon every living thing. No sound is heard in the forest but the rapping on the trees. Old Man Winter carries a great hammer, and he strikes the trees a blow as he passes. The colder it grows, the louder and more frequently he raps. The trees snap, and the Indian lodges crack with his blows. One day, as Old Man Winter was stalking through a forest, he came upon a hunter's lodge. For days the snow had been falling. No track of deer or rabbit was to be seen, and the hunter and his little boy sat within, weak from hunger. They were also very cold, for the fire in the lodge burned low. Old Man Winter laughed and shook his hammer in glee as he drew near. Once, twice, 3 times, he rapped. The little boy within heard him and rapped 3 times in reply, just as Old Man Winter had done. At this the hunter spoke. He told the boy that he must not mock a nature spirit, lest some harm should come to him. He might be captured and made to serve that spirit. Now, when Old Man Winter heard the mocking raps of the little boy within the lodge, he was very angry. He breathed fiercely upon the little lodge. It shrank and shivered at his touch like a living thing. He struck it several sharp blows with his hammer and passed on. The fire inside the lodge burned lower and lower. The hunter and his little son drew closer and watched the last flame flicker and die out. As they sat by the ashes, numb with the cold, all of a sudden a new warmth filled the lodge. The south wind gently opened the door, and a young chieftain with a face like the sun entered. He saw the dying hunter and the boy, and he warmed them back to life. When they were stronger, he helped them to rekindle the fire. Then he told them to take a few dried blackberries that they had in the lodge and boil them in water. He said they must eat a portion of the blackberries and throw the rest at Old Man Winter when he returned. This would frighten him away, for he was terribly afraid of blackberries. Blackberries mean sunshine and summer heat. Old Man Winter cannot stay where they are. He never visits the earth at blackberry time. The hunter and the little boy said they would do as they had been told. Soon the young chieftain left the lodge with the south wind. Not many days later, Old Man Winter returned and again came rapping at their lodge. But this time the hunter and the little boy were ready. They threw the blackberries at him as they had been told, and he ran in fear to his ice lodge. The south wind and the young chieftain with a face like the sun were near. They followed close upon the old man's track when he was again inside the ice lodge. The south wind rapped gently at the door. "Begone," said the old man. "No one but North Wind is welcome to my lodge." Then the south wind breathed, soft and warm, upon the door of the ice lodge, and it melted at their feet. The young chieftain passed in and sat down by the strange fire that had no heat. The south wind stayed without and sang, soft and low. The old man was very angry. He raged about the lodge and ordered the young chieftain, with sunshine in his face and warmth in his breath, to depart. "I am great and powerful," said the old man. "When I touch the sky, the snow falls. When I speak, hunters hide in their lodges, animals crawl into their holes, and birds fly in fear. When my hand touches the earth, it grows cold and hard, and all life dies. Begone, or I will make an iceman or a snowman of you." But the young chieftain moved not. He only sat and smiled at the bluster of the old man. Slowly he filled a pipe and handed it to the old man, saying, "Here, smoke with me. It will give you strength to go to your lodge in the north sky. It is time for you to depart. You are old and tired and worn. You and North Wind have had your day. The days that are to come belong to South Wind and to me. I too am powerful, and I am young. I do not fear you. When I touch the earth, it grows soft and warm. Every living thing stirs in its sleep, birds and bees, flowers and trees, animals and men. When I speak, the sleeping sun awakes. See, already he begins to send down his arrows. Hasten, that they may not find you on the trail to the north sky." The old man trembled. His legs and arms grew weak. Icicles fell from his beard. Great tears rolled down his cheeks. "Who are you?" he whispered, as he was melting at the young chieftain's feet. "I am Gohe, the spring," answered the young chieftain. "All the earth is glad when I come to drive you back to your lodge in the north sky, for I bring sunshine and love and joy." But the old man did not hear. He was far on the north sky trail, and spring and south wind were masters of earth. The end. I really like the illustration that's attached to this. The old man is icicles from his hands and off all of his furs and such. It's very cool. But that's the end of how Old Man Winter was driven back. The next one is Why Lightning Sometimes Strikes, which should be fun. know if we will. Quick scan of it. No, I think we'll be seeing something very different. Anyway, okay. Why lightning sometimes strikes. Yes. Okay. If you've noticed, I'm not doing the ASMR triggers between these stories. I just realized when I did the Dear Woman stories that I wouldn't include that. I was just gonna have lots of chatting between, and we did. I'll bring back the triggers between stories when people ask for them. I'll put them on the screen for the next reads when I get back, but I figured I wouldn't while I was reading these ones. I don't know. If people want those back, I'll do those again, but I haven't, I just haven't really had people requesting them very often, so I put them away. Let me know if you prefer those, more ASMR triggers in my streams. I will take the input. Okay. Actually, why lightning sometimes strikes now. An old man of the Iroquois nation once wished to make a beautiful Indian maiden his wife. The old man had many rare furs and valued strings of wampum. These he brought and laid at the door of the wigwam where the maiden lived. The father and mother were pleased with the old man's gifts. They told him that when the planting moon should come, the maiden should go to his wigwam. The planting moon that refers to the time of year when they are planting. Anyway. Now the maiden did not love the old man. She did not wish him to make her his wife. I will never sit at his wigwam door, she said. It was midwinter when the old man brought the gifts, the time of the pale, cold moon. From that time the maiden watched with a heavy heart the moons wax and wane. At last the snows disappeared. No more was the north wind heard shrieking about the lodge. The gentle south wind had come, bringing with him the singing birds. The little brooks awoke and sang. They were happy that spring had come, and all the earth children were glad, except the maiden. Her heart grew more heavy and sad as the face of the sun grew brighter. Then the planting moon came. The maiden watched the moon hang her horn in the sky. Then she ran swiftly to the great river that flowed not far from the lodge. Lightly she sprang into her canoe. A few quick strokes and the canoe was in midstream. The current ran swift and strong. The little craft was carried swiftly down the river toward the great falls, known as Niagara Falls. As the canoe neared the falls, the maiden was seen to rise and stretch out her arms as though about to leap. A smile was on her face and a song was on her lips as the canoe shot into the mist that overhung the water. Then, from the caverns below, a dark blanket floated upward as though spread to catch the maiden. It was Hino, the thunder spirit, thunder, who dwelt behind the falls. He had caught her in the folds of his blanket and had saved her from the great rocks below. Hino took the maiden to live with him in his lodge behind the falls. There she was very happy, so happy that her smile shone through the mist, and the Indians cried, "See, a rainbow!" In her new home the maiden learned many wonderful things. She found she possessed strange powers not known to her before. She could float on a cloud at will, and she seemed filled with a strange fire. One day the young woman was given a son. Hino and she were very happy. Many moons the mother and child played together. When Hino was away on one of his journeys through the sky, they would ride the great bubbles of foam that went dashing through the rocks. Sometimes they would catch sunbeams in a net as they sat on the edge of a cloud and fished. One day Hino asked the young woman if she would like to visit her people. "If you wish," he said, "you shall return for a time, taking our son with you. But remember, both of you possess powers unknown to the earth children. Be careful how you use them. Never let another child strike the boy, for that child would at once wither and die. Never strike the boy yourself, for he would fall stunned to earth." The woman listened to Hino's words. Soon they were wrapped in his great cloud blanket and were floating over the river. Yes. When they came to the home of her people, Hino left the woman and the boy by the river and went on further to the east. The people were glad to see the woman whom they had mourned as dead. She told them of the wonderful things she had learned in her new home. She told them also how Hino was freeing their land of a monster serpent that trailed underneath the earth, poisoning their springs and causing sickness. Always, she said, Hino carried a basket of great rocks on his back, which he hurled at the monster whenever he saw him. Soon he would kill the serpent, and they would be sick no more. During many days, the mother and the little boy stayed with the earth people. Sometimes, when the child was playing by the river, he would see a dark cloud approaching. Then he would clap his hands with joy and cry, "There comes my father." The black cloud would float earthward, and Hino would stop and have a word with the mother and the boy. As he left them, he always said, "Do not let anyone strike the boy." But one day, the mother did not watch the boy, and he fell to playing with some earth children. They grew angry as they played and struck the boy. Instantly these children fell dead to the ground. Then the mother laid hands on the boy to punish him, and he fell to earth. At this there came a great rumbling and roaring through the sky, and Hino appeared. He took the lifeless child in his arms, crying, "You have disobeyed. No longer shall you have this great power I gave you. You shall remain on earth and be simply an earth woman. I will take the boy to my abode. Henceforth our lodge shall be in the sky. There he will return to life, and ever after he will go with me on my journeys through the sky." Then the sky shook and trembled. The door of the sky lodge opened, and Hino and the boy were seen no more. Now, when a rumbling and rolling through the sky is heard, the Indians say, "'Tis the voice of Hino. He is coming from his lodge in the sky." But when a flash of fire is seen, and a loud crash is heard, they say, "That is the boy. He is trying to hit the earth children with a firestone. He remembers how they struck him a long time ago." The end. I knew thunder would be there, and I'm not sure of my pronunciation. I'd never heard of specifically Hino as the name, just Thunder Spirit. So, oops. But that one was fun. The next story is Why the Hare Has a Split Lip and Short Tail. Alright. Hey, thank you for the follow. It's so small on my little thing that I didn't quite see it. There we go. It's still small. Oh, I'm gonna have to make that bigger so I can actually see the names. But now I know. Alright. Why the hare has a split lip and a short tail. No worries, Vetster. You enjoy yourself wherever you are going. Am I being very quiet? I'm sorry. Unless maybe you can hear me now? I don't know. Hello? Oh my gosh. Yes, I just saw that. I don't know why that was doing that. How long has it been doing that? Something got messed with and I don't know how. Sorry, am I now too loud? I'm sorry. I probably should have given a warning. Okay, good. Really curious what happened then. Ooh. A Sailor Moon? What? I love that name. Or maybe it was a Silent Moon. Again, I have to fix that size of typing. But probably y'all didn't hear me, 'cause it was really quiet for whatever reason. Okay. Yeah, our next story here. Exactly. I know I wasn't, so I don't know what I did that messed with it. But, something happened. I don't know what I did. An Apex game. Well, if you wanted to go play, you can do that. The games is a fun time. You can watch me later. But I hope you had fun. I hope it was a good game or stuffs. I don't know. Ah, magnificent. Great way to end. Okay, here is why the hare has a split lip and a short tail. Hello, Tetrahedral Dragon. We're just getting into the next short story. Okay. Sorry. Once a rabbit began to run back and forth through the woods. Oh, hi, hi. Welcome. Story time. Yes. Indigenous story time. We're doing Iroquois stories from a book called Stories the Iroquois Tell Their Children. So, yeah. Why the hare has a split lip and a short tail. Once a rabbit began to run back and forth through the woods, calling for snow, snow, snow. It was one of those large gray rabbits with long ears that people call hares. As this hare ran back and forth through the woods, he sang at the top of his voice. And this is a lot of syllables. Obviously a language I don't actually know. So I'm going to be guessing at it. Agone Yahye, Agone Yahye, Agone Yahye, Dagen Dagton, Agone Yahye, Agone Yahye. This meant snow, snow, snow. How I would run if I had snow. Snow, snow, snow. How I would run if I had snow. Now, strange as it may seem, as this hare ran back and forth singing for snow, 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 some flakes of snow began to fall. The hare was so delighted that he jumped up and down for joy. Agone Yahye, Agone Yahye, Agone Yahye, he sang in short, quick notes of joy. And the higher he jumped, and the louder he sang, the faster and thicker the snow came. The hare was so delighted that he began to run. All day long he ran back and forth through the woods, calling for snow, snow, snow. How I would run if I had snow. And the snow fell faster and faster. Thicker and thicker it came. The path in which the rabbit ran grew higher and higher as the snow fell deeper and deeper. But at last the hare was so tired that he could run no longer. He no longer sang for snow, 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 how I would run if I had snow, for now he had more snow than he wanted. The snow was up to the tip-tops of the trees, and it was very hard to run. The hare was very tired. He thought he must take a rest. Night was coming on. He looked about him. Near the path were the top branches of a willow tree, sticking out above the snow. He sprang into a crotch of those branches. There he could sit and rest for a time. Soon he fell asleep. He slept all night and part of the next day. That night it began to rain, and it rained very, very hard. The snow began to melt, and it melted very, very fast, and when that hare awoke, not a flake of snow was to be seen. But there was the hare away up in the tip-top of that willow tree. What to do he did not know. He was very hungry. He wondered how long he could stay there and not starve. He saw some tender buds on the branches. He ate those, and then he gnawed bark for some time. However, sooner or later the hare knew he must jump or starve. He looked down at the earth. It looked very good to him. He could see some fresh green moss and some beautiful grass. One jump and they were his. But what a jump! At last the hare whipped his courage up to the jumping point. He shut his eyes and gave one great jump to earth. But when he jumped, he caught his tail on the branch of the willow tree and left part of it up there. And when he jumped, he struck the front of his face on a sharp stone, and the stone split his upper lip in two. Ever since then, hares have had split lips and short tails, and ever since then, willow trees have had tails for catkins on them in the spring. It's so cute. The end. But I guess, according to that story, do all the cats and other little rodents, does everybody that has the little lip split have the same story? I wonder. But what a good one. I like it. Okay. The next story. Nods, nods. Thanks, Vetster. The next story. I'm guessing these are names. No, get rid of that. Okay. It's Corn, Plume, and Bean, Maiden. Yes? Yes. Okay. I like them too. I'm glad you like them. It's all very much in the same vein as some of the old fairy tales. The same energy, same, what's the best way to tell a story that gets passed on? There's the repetition, there's some morals, there's how did this end up happening is the majority of the Iroquois stories, right? The indigenous stories are often, but why is this? And there's the story for why is this. I think there's a good deal of, we made these stories because we had, such nosy little kids that were impossible to shut up before bed, kind of a thing. Whereas maybe the European ones were like, no, all of our kids are assholes and we have to tell them how to not be assholes. Like all the old, like, really scary monster stuff in, like, Krampus and things, like, up the more northern European, they're like, oh, our kids really need to be told how to not be a pest, so... The indigenous kids were just asking a million, but why is this? But why is that? And then you answer, and then they say, but why is that? Yeah, the witch is eating children. Stop going into the fucking woods, say the Europeans. Just stop it. And the indigenous parents are like, stop asking me all the freaking questions I don't know. But either way, I love all these. I feel more cozy with these ones. I'm like, okay, so that's why. Okay, but they're all great. Okay, Corn Plume and Bee Maiden. These have to be people names. The Great Spirit had smiled upon his red children. The land was filled with plenty, for the Great Spirit had given to them the 3 sustainers of life, the corn, the bean, and the squash. Flowers bloomed, birds sang, and all the earth was glad with the red children. For the gifts, all the earth was glad with the red children for the gifts of the Great Spirit. On one side of a hill grew the tall, waving corn, with its silk tassels and plumes. On another side, beans with their velvety pods climbed toward the sky. Some distance down a third slope, beautiful yellow squashes turned their faces to the sun. One day the spirit of the corn grew restless. There came a rustling through the waving leaves, and a great sigh burst from the heart of the tall stalks. The spirit of the corn was lonely. And this is where I'll interrupt that there's a cute illustration. I like it. You can clearly see who's the corn in the photo. Okay. As well as bean, but anyway. Spirit of the corn was lonely. After that, every morning at sunrise, a handsome young chief was seen to come and stand on the brow of the hill. On his head were shining red plumes. Tall and strong and splendid he stood, wrapped in the folds of his waving blanket, whose fringed tassels danced to the summer breeze. Chit-chit-hen, chit-chit-hen, someone I would marry, someone I would marry, the young chieftain would sing many, many times. One day his voice reached the squash maiden on the other side of the hill. The squash maiden drew about her a rich green blanket. Oh, so maybe this is squash maiden, I see, not bean. Yeah, that would make sense. She pulled the blanket into which she had woven many flaunting gold trumpet-shaped flowers. Then she ran swiftly to the young chieftain. Marry me, said the squash maiden, as she spread her beautiful gold and green blanket at his feet. Corn Plume looked down at the squash maiden sitting on her blanket at his feet. She was good to look upon, and yet Corn Plume was not content. He wanted a maiden who would stand by his side, not always sit at his feet. Then Corn Plume spoke to the squash maiden. Corn Plume cannot marry Squash Maiden. She's very beautiful, but she will not make song in Corn Plume's heart. Squash Maiden will grow tired of his lodge. She will not stay in his wigwam. She likes to go a long trail and wander from the lodge. Corn Plume cannot make Squash Maiden his wife, for he is not content with her, but she shall be Corn Plume's sister, and sit in his lodge whenever she will. The maiden Corn Plume weds must be ever at his side. She must go where he goes, stay where he stays. Next morning at sunrise, the voice of Corn Plume was again heard, singing from the hilltop. Chit-cha-hen, chit-cha-hen, someone I would marry, someone I would marry, chit-cha-hen, chit-cha-hen. This time his song reached the ears of the Bean Maiden. Her heart sang when she heard the voice of Corn Plume, for she knew that he was calling her. So light of heart was Bean Maiden that she ran like a deer up the hillside, on, up and over the brow of the hill she climbed, till she reached the young chieftain's side. Then Corn Plume turned and beheld the most beautiful maiden he had ever seen. Her eyes were deep and dark like mountain pools. Her breath was sweet as the waters of the maple. She threw off her blanket of green and purple and white, and stretched her twining arms to him. Corn Plume desired to keep Bean Maiden forever close to him. He bent his tall, plumed head to her. Her arms wound round and round the young chieftain, and Corn Plume was content. So closely were the arms of Corn Plume and the Bean Maiden entwined, so truly were they wed, that the Indians never attempted to separate them. Ever after, corn and beans were planted in the same hill, and often a squash seed was added. Since the Great Spirit had placed the corn, the bean, and the squash together on a hill, the Indians said they should continue to live and grow and occupy a hill together. The door of the Corn Plume's lodge was ever open to the Squash Maiden if she chose to enter, but seldom did she stay in the wigwam. More often she was found running off on a long trail. But Bean Maiden remained true to Corn Plume. Always she was found by his side. Never did she leave the lodge until he went with her. Corn Plume's lodge was her lodge, and her trail was his trail. And because the spirits of the corn and the bean are as one, the Indians not only plant and grow them together, but cook and eat them together. In life they were one, they say. We will not separate them in death. And now, when a great rustling and sighing of the corn is heard in the white man's land, the Indians often say, "'Tis the spirit of Corn Plume, crying for his lost Bean Maiden." Oh, that is a sweet one. Someone that grew up growing corn, I feel like I need to send that to that person. I think they would enjoy it. That's so sweet. And I like that there's a little bit of like hey, your real person's gonna be who you find. We're just not quite it. I'll keep you close to me though. You're still important to me. Fine, yeah, cool. You're a great Squash Maiden, but I think I like Bean better. And so kindly it was said. But I like that one lots. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna put a little star that I want to send that to someone that grew up in a farming family. They would enjoy it. The next one is about the robin. How the robin burned his breast. Do. Oh. Yeah. Okay. After this is the fairy stories next, so that's when we'll learn about the little people and things like that. Or, beings that belong under that umbrella. But this is the last one that's more the general stories. Okay. Some Indian hunters once made their way north to hunt for moose. It was at the time of falling leaves. They journeyed for several days until they came to a lake. Close by the lake, they built a log cabin. Moss was placed between the logs to keep out the wind, and a thick roof was made from hemlock boughs. In the center of the roof, a small opening was left for the smoke from the lodge fire to pass out. Here the hunters lived during the moon of falling leaves. Every day they went on the moose trail, but they found no moose. Their arrows brought them little game of any kind. They became discouraged and sick, and one of the hunters lay down and died. At last there was but one hunter left. He too was sick, and he grew weaker day by day. His food was nearly gone. It was growing cold, and there was little wood in the cabin to burn. But the man did not give up. Again and again he cried aloud, "Someone will come and help me. Someone will come and help me." One day, as he lay there too weak to rise, the fire flickered and went out. It seemed that he must die, but even then he did not give up. Again and again, with his weak voice, he cried, "Someone will come and help me. Someone will come and help me." and someone did come and help him. His cry was heard, for a bird came flying in through the smoke hole in the roof of the lodge. The bird had such a cheery, brave voice that the man felt better the moment he flew in. The bird said to the man, "I was near. I heard you calling. I have come to help you." Then the bird saw that the fire was out and that the man was cold. He fluttered among the ashes until he found a bit of live coal. With a glad chirp, he flew out through the roof. Soon he was back with his bill full of dried twigs. He placed them on the fire and began to fan them into flame with his wings. Soon the twigs were blazing. Then he flew out for more twigs, and more, and more, and more. The brave little bird kept on carrying twigs until the fire burned hot and the lodge was warm once more. When the bird had flown into the lodge, it had a clean white breast. After the fire was built, his breast was covered with red and brown spots. He tried to pick them off with his bill, but they would not come off. Instead, they seemed to spread, and his whole breast became red-brown. Then the bird knew that he must have burned his breast to a red-brown when he was fanning the fire into flame. But the little bird did not care if he had soiled his white breast and burned it red-brown. Had he not brought cheer and life to a dying man? He chirped a few glad notes, then said to the man, "I will go now, but I shall be near your lodge. When you need me, call, and I will come again." Later in the day, the man again called for help. The fire was getting low, and he was not yet strong enough to go out and gather twigs. Again the bird came to his aid. In and out he flew many times after small branches and twigs until they were piled high on the fire, and once more it crackled and burned. There was a little wood in the lodge. The man placed it on the fire, and the warmth healed the man, so that soon he was well and strong again. Every day the man talked with the bird, for he was always near, and his cheery voice and brave words gave the man courage. Once more he went on the moose trail, and this time his arrows brought him moose. In a short time the hunter had all the meat, skins, and moose hair he wanted. The moose hair he was taking to his wife to work into pretty forms on moccasins. The first snow was falling, and the hunter started south on the home trail. The bird hopped along by his side for a little way, then said, "I must leave you now. Winter is coming, and I must be on my way to the Southland, or the snow will catch me. In the spring you will see me again." When spring came, the bird with the red-brown breast came with his mate, and built a nest close to the hunter's home lodge. In the nest that summer there grew up 5 little birds, and they too had red and brown breasts. And ever since, Robin Redbreast has continued to come and build his nest close to the lodges of men, for Robin Redbreast is a friend to man. The end. And that's how the robin burned his breast. Oop. Yeah, the next ones are the fairy stories. It's just a couple of those before the end of the book. Yeah, it's 4 of those before the end of the book. And then we have to move on to the next book or do something else. We could look at a few different things possibly, but we have another book, which this book referenced in one of the things. This one is apparently kept in the Smithsonian Institution Bureau of Ethnology, Myths of the Iroquois. It's clear that this one didn't have the actual collaboration with indigenous peoples. It's a hell of a thing, and it might be less story and more other stuff. Like, yeah, it's just a little bit different. But it could be interesting to read as well. Trying to get an idea of how I would go over this. It's generally like I'm slightly more wary of it. That it might not have been put together in as kind of a way. Because again, the book that I'm reading now with you, is from 1970, and they referenced this. This is 1880 to 1881 that this book was made. And that could mean some good things, and it could mean some bad things for being authentic and kind. So I don't know what I would... What? But it is organized by different things. So we could skip to specifically tales, and that would be probably all very specific stories. Yeah. It reads more like what to know about the Iroquois, and it's a study book, like it's a textbook kind of energy, but an 1880 textbook. So, but it has why the chipmunk has the black stripe on his back. I just clocked that, and I think that might have been the story that came from this book. Yeah. There's also just lots of other interesting things. At the bottom it says chapter 6 is religion, and it has New Year's festival, tapping the maple tree, planting corn, strawberry festival, green corn festival, gathering the corn. So these are, I would say, ceremonies and festivals, not exactly, because all the stories are also religion. It's not just, anyway. But it's interesting. Yeah. Because I don't know if I want to just read this textbook as it is exactly. Yeah, okay. I'll just read from this book the tales, probably. Yeah, alright. But before then, we still have these 4 that are good to read. I have no idea what that means, Vetster, that it looks like it's not modded. Is that good? That it looks natural? Or like, are you worried? I don't know what to think of that, but cool. Mess around with things. I could have swore I did. Okay. I will do that after this. Okay. But we're gonna do the next story now. How Morningstar lost her fish. Are you taking the notes because you think I'm a liar? Or are you taking notes of the next story? Notes for story. Okay. How Morningstar lost her fish. Once the little people, the Indian fairies, ran with the red children through the woods, and played with them beside the streams. Now they are not often seen, for The white man drove them out of the woods with the Indians and away from the waters with his big steam noises. But before steamboats and great mills were on the streams, the little people were there. They were often seen paddling their tiny canoes or sliding down the great rocks on the banks. They loved to slide down a bank where one rock jutted out. For them, they had a big bounce. They also liked to sport and jump with the fish. There was a young Indian girl whose name was Morning Star. She was called Morning Star because her face was so bright, and she was always up early in the morning. Morning Star lived with her father in a comfortable wigwam by a river. Every day she would get up with the sun and run down to the river where the great rocks were to catch fish for breakfast. Morning Star caught her fish in a basket. At night she would go and fasten her basket between the rocks in a narrow place of the stream. Then, oh hello, welcome. We're just in the middle of a story, so I'll keep going, but thanks for joining. At night she would go and fasten her basket between the rocks in a narrow place of the stream. Then when the fish swam through in the night, they would get caught in it, and Morning Star would find plenty of fish waiting for her. In the morning she would take the basket of fish to the wigwam, and soon the smell of fish frying on hot coals would come from the lodge. Since Morning Star began to fish with her basket, had Cheif Little Wolf, her father, had to wait for his fish breakfast before starting on the chase. But one morning, neither Cheif Little Wolf nor Morning Star breakfast on fish. This is how it happened. On this morning, the Indian girl was up as usual with the sun. She ran down the river just as the Great Spirit lifted the sun's smiling face. Morning Star had such a light heart that she was glad just to be alive, and she sang a song of praise as she ran. All true Indians at sunrise lift their arms and faces to the sun and thank the Great Spirit that he has smiled upon them again. Happy and fleet as a deer, Morning Star ran on until she came to the great rocks. There she saw a whole tribe of tiny little folk gathered about her basket. Some of them were perched on the side of the basket, laughing and singing. Others were lifting the fish from it and throwing them into the stream. Others were opening and closing the splints of the basket for the fish to slip through. Morning Star knew that these tiny folk were the Jogao, or the little people. She knew also that these little people were friends of the fish. They know every twist of a fish net and every turn of a hook. Often they have been known to set fish free and to guide them into deep, quiet places far away from the men who fish. Morning Star called to the little people and begged them not to let all the fish go. Then she began to climb down the rocks as fast as she could. The little chief called up to her, "Fish, like Indian girls, like to be alive." Then he told the little people to keep on setting the fish free. When Morning Star reached her basket, a few fish were still in it. She put out her hand to take them from the little people, and not a fish, nor a Jogao was to be seen. The little people had darted into the rocks, for they go through anything, and the fish had slipped through the tiny spaces between the splints of the basket. The image here is beautiful. I love it. It shows all the little itty bitty people, because they're kind of like Thumbelina-ish size. Morning Star heard the laughter of the little people echo within the rocks, for they liked to play pranks with the earth children, and far down the stream she saw the fish leap with joy at still being alive. She took up her empty basket and went back to the wigwam. That morning for breakfast, Morningstar baked corn cakes on the hot coals. As she ate the hot cakes, she thought they tasted almost as good as fish. Ever after, when Morningstar saw a fish leap from the stream, she remembered that the Jaga'o had said fish, like Indian girls, like to be alive. The end. And this is why some people don't eat fish. No. I like it a lot. This is kind of like the hero Sebastian in The Little Mermaid needed. But that one's great. I like it. Cute little fish. Little koi. I realized I hadn't written it in my notebook, so I'll do that. Oh, Morningstar. Okay. The next one is called How Little Shooter Lost His Luck. Okay. Alright. Little Shooter. One day, an Indian boy was playing beside a stream when one of the little elf men came along in his canoe. Again, I guess, the little people. The Jaka. Oh, okay. The boy had his bow and arrow with him. So had the little elf man. The little man stopped and offered to trade bows and arrows. The Indian boy looked first at his bow, and then at that of the little man. His bow was large. The little man's bow was very small. The boy thought his own bow was better, so he said he would not trade. The little elf man laughed and drew his bow. "You only think big things are great," he said. "Some day you will learn better. Some day you will want this little bow and these little arrows. Some day you will wish you had traded." Then he shot an arrow into the clouds, sprang into his canoe, and paddled off up the stream. As he disappeared, he called back to the boy, "You will see me again sometime." The Indian boy ran to his wigwam home. He told his father about the little man he had seen and how the man wanted to trade bow and arrows. "And you did not trade?" exclaimed the father. "No," said the boy. "His bow was small, mine is large." "Foolish boy," said the father. "That little man was a Jaga'o, one of the little people. They do wonderful things. Their arrows are winged with power. Had you traded bows, you would have become a great hunter and had been able to get near the animals. Those little arrows of the Jaga'o fly swift and far and always bring back game. The boy who has a Jaga'o bow and arrow always has good luck. One arrow of theirs is worth a flight of yours. Had you traded bow and arrows, you would have been called He Shoots the Sky. Now you shall be called Little Shooter." Little Shooter grew to be a man. He went often on the chase, but his arrows did not bring much game. Many times he wished he could meet the little elf man again and trade bow and arrows. For sometimes he ran for days and found no track of deer or rabbit, but the little elf man never came. One day, when Little Shooter had grown to be quite an old man, he was walking through the woods. He stopped under a tree to rest. Under a tree to rest. Several times he felt something fall on his head. At last he looked up to see what it was. There sat the little elf man, swinging on the tip of a branch and throwing nuts and twigs at him. He looked just as he did when little Shooter met him by the stream long before. He had not grown old or aged. He had not grown old or changed at all. How long have you been here? Asked little Shooter. No, I have always been here, said the little man. I have been in the world ever since the stones were soft. Then he laughed and asked, does little Shooter now like big bow and arrows best? Or has he learned that sometimes small things are great? Next time he had better trade with the little man. And aiming another nut at little Shooter's head, he disappeared in the tree trunk. The end. Very much the same energy as the Fae that we get in European stories, right? Entirely the same energy. Next is how an Indian boy won his name. So, no. Okay. It was bluebird time many moons ago. Little brooks laughed and danced, and all the forest was glad. An Indian boy came running through the forest. He too was glad, for it was spring. As he ran down the trail, he saw something hanging from a bush. The bush was but a few rabbit jumps from the trail, so he stopped to see what new flower the spring had brought. He found the new flower to be a tiny papoose cradle. The boy picked the cradle from the bush and held it in the palm of his hand. As he looked closer, he saw that there was a tiny papoose in the little cradle. The wee papoose laughed in his face as he spoke to it. The boy had never seen so tiny a papoose, and he thought he would like to take it home to his mother. It was so cunning. She had but 9 of her own. He was sure that she would like one more, and that there would be a place for the tiny stranger in their wigwam. He started to run down the trail, but something seemed to hold him fast. He could not get away. 3 times he tried to run, but each time he only circled round that bush. Something held him to the spot. Just then there came a sharp cry from up the trail. The boy thought some animal must be hurt or in pain. He turned to look and saw a little woman coming. She was less than a foot high, but she ran like a deer to the boy and cried and begged him to give back her baby. Then the boy knew it was the love of that little mother that had held him fast. He could not break the love cord between that mother and her baby. Now the boy had a heart that was soft and kind. He liked to see everything happy. When he saw the little mother crying and begging for her baby, he felt sorry for her. Many times he had heard his mother tell how every mother bird loves her young, every mother bear her cub, every mother deer her fawn, every Indian mother her papoose. And he knew this little fairy mother must also love her fairy baby, so he put it on the little mother's back and told her she should have her papoose. The little mother gave a glad cry as she felt the baby on her back once more. Then he drew a stone from a bag which she carried and slipped it on a string of beads that hung from the little boy's neck. The stone shone on his breast like a dewdrop. Because you are good and kind and unselfish, and because you make everything happy, she said, you will wear this good luck stone. It will bring you whatever you want. We little people give this stone to those earth children only, who are strong and yet protect the weak. Wear it always on your breast. Never take it off, and you will become a mighty chief. Then the little mother gave another glad cry, and with her baby on her back she disappeared into an oak. The boy ran on. His heart grew lighter and the stone brighter as he ran. Before he reached his mother's wigwam, his arrows had brought back game for their evening meal. From the day when the boy met the little Jaga'o mother in the wood and was given the stone, he had good luck. Whatever he did, all went well with him. If he went on the chase, he brought back deer. If he planted corn, it grew tall and fine. No boy could throw a ball as far or could run as fast as he. He could shoot his arrows to the sky and could send his snow snakes skimming far beyond the rest. Snow snakes, we learned last time, it's like a game with you send a stick flying over the snow just to see how far it will go. So lucky was this Indian boy that his tribe called him Luck in All Moons. He wears the good luck stone, the old people said as they sat around the fire, and they nodded their heads knowingly, but they never knew how he came by it or why he won the stone. And when Luck in All Moons grew to be a man, his tribe made him a great chief, just as the little Jaga'o mother had said. He became a chief, though not in the chieftain line. Because he stood so strong and straight, serving the people, protecting the weak, and doing great deeds, he was called the Pine Tree Chief, my brain. Ugh. His feet are planted deep in wisdom and strength, they said, and his head is not far from the sky. He sees far and points us the way. As the topmost branch of the pine points always to the east, so Luck in All Moons shall guide us to the sun rising. He shall be our Pine Tree Chief. The end. That's a pretty great name to earn. Fun story, how? And this is going to be the last story, oh no, of this book. It's called How the Fairies Worked Magic. And I'll make sure I have it listed. How the Fairies. How the Fairies Worked Magic. Once a little Indian girl was very sad and unhappy. The Great Spirit had taken her father and mother, and she had gone to live with relatives who did not want her. Often she went to sleep hungry, for only the scraps of food that were left from a meal were given to her. Sorry, just adjusting. One day, the relatives of the little girl brought in a fine deer from the chase and made ready for a feast. They told the girl to get out of the lodge, for there was neither room nor meat for her. The little girl ran and hid herself in a great field of corn. There she cried aloud. Soon a band of strange little people gathered about her to comfort her. On all sides, from the folds of the green cornstalks they came. They stroked her head, wiped the tears from her eyes, and said, "Don't cry, little girl. We will take care of you. You shall come and live with us. We will make a great feast for you. We know why you are sad, for we can read the thoughts of all the earth children. Come with us, and we will show you more wonderful things than you have ever seen." At this the little girl dried her tears and smiled at the kind little people. "You are very good to me," she said. "Who are you?" "We are the Jaga'o," they replied, "the little people. Come, and we will show you what we can do." Then they slipped some winged moccasins upon her feet. They wrapped her in an invisible blanket and put a magic corn plume in her hair, and the next moment all were flying through the air. They flew to a ledge of great rocks. At the touch of the little people, the rocks opened, and they passed within. The girl found herself in a beautiful lodge. Kind Jaga'o mothers were baking cakes and roasting meat. They welcomed the girl, and soon a feast was spread in her honor. Now the heart of the little girl was so light that she danced with joy. "What wonderful people you are! Can you go anywhere or do anything you wish?" "Yes," said the little chief. "The Jaga'o are small, but they are great. Come with us, and you shall see what we can do." Again they were flying through the air. Soon they reached the lodge where the little girl had lived. It was night, and her relatives were asleep, but she could see the deer that hung outside ready for the feast. "Now," said the little Jaga'o chief, "we will call out a pack of wolves from the wood yonder, and there will be no fat deer for this selfish feast at sunrise." Now no wolves had been seen in that wood for many moons, but at the call of the fairies, a pack sprang from it, ran to the lodge, seized the deer, and tore it to shreds. Then they again disappeared into the wood. The little girl's eyes were now large with wonder as they flew back to the fairy lodge and the rocks. But she was not afraid of these strange little people. She was so happy with them, she wished she might always live in a Jaga'o lodge. One morning, the little chief said, "Today we shall see more wonders." This time a tiny canoe was waiting. They stepped into it and sailed down a river until they came to a great tree. "In that tree," said the little chief, "lives a great black bear. Every day he comes out that door you see high up in the bear tree. I will make the door fast so he cannot open it. A deep sleep will fall on him. He will sleep for many moons." Then the chief threw 3 stones through the open door of the bear tree. Each time a flame spread like a blanket over the door. A growling and scratching was heard within. Then all became still. Did the little people just carbon monoxide poison the bear? Oh my gosh. Anyway. "Now," said the chief, "the bear will sleep until I call him in the spring. He is locked up for the winter. Come, let us go on." The little girl drew her invisible blanket closer as the canoe went sailing with the birds through the clouds. The birds that were swift of wing. The birds that were swift of wing called loudly for a race. "Come on," said the fairy chief. Then he spread wide the invisible sails of his canoe, and they flew past the birds like a streak of lightning. Even the eagle was left far behind. They seemed to shoot through the sky. And oh, what fun it was to be a bird. The little girl could have sailed on forever. Oh, thank you for the follow. Wait a minute. I have 100 followers now? Oh my gosh. What? Oh, what? I'm seeing all the things pop up. Thank you, everyone. Yay! 100. Thanks, Tigo. And we're nearly done the story, so I'll just finish it. Oh, what fun it was to be a bird. The little girl would have sailed on forever, but the little chief said, "You shall now return to your people. We have given them soft hearts and kind minds. They are calling for you. They will be glad to see you." Thank you. And soon the little girl was again in the wigwam of her relatives, sitting by the warm fire. They greeted her with joy and spread a soft skin for her to sit upon. and gave her the best food, and the little girl lived with them ever after and was happy. The end. There we go. But thank you guys. I reached my goal. Oh, I zoomed the wrong direction for a second. Okay. Yay! Look at those little things. Thanks, Tigo. Thank you for joining us. Okay. I've got 100 followers now. Yay! Is that what that dance is called? Oh my gosh. Oh, yes. Okay, that one is that. That's the one that's called that. Yeah, that one is very cute. I like all of the little dancers you have just given me, guys. They're all great. Yes, I see. But yay! I'm so excited. Okay. We got that just at the end of that book. But now thank you. Now we'll have to pick a new one to read. I've got the other book, but I am hesitant. Because for one thing, they're referring to everything as gods, which is like, Yeah, and this is more of like explaining what Iroquois are, as opposed to like just telling the stories. So, I think we'll just read the tales, if that's okay, if it's a thing. Nope. I think that this could be a fine thing to read eventually, but yeah, this is too much like a textbook than a real story. You're really considering. Yeah, you should read books. Read the books, and you're good. Good morning, Dumda. I just got 100 followers now, so that's why we have the celebration there. Everybody's dancing. And I'm trying to decide, because we have finished now the book stories the Iroquois tell their children. So instead, I think I will go to a different site and read things from that site instead of the book. Yeah, a little bit, but we're still doing it because it hit right in the middle of wrapping up that last story. You can dance all you want. We don't have a dancing frog yet. We need to get a properly dancing frog. I'll just submit dinos. The closest I have. Oh, and the bouncy boy. The bouncy frog's good too. Bounce. Look at all the dancing. Woo. Ooh, Fatster, dancing frog would be fun. There's a million different ways that we could make a frog dance, though, so there's a whole bunch of different, well, maybe not a million, at least 5. There's a bunch of ways that we could be ambitious about that. That butt dancing animal, is it a cat? Is it a mongoose? I don't know what that is, but I like the butt. A break dancing one, that's pretty great. That's a nice one. But thank you for all these dancings. Thank you. We have 10 viewers, I have 100 followers, and I have 60 subscribers. What fun. Eep. Booty wiggle. Ooh, ooh. Thank you, everybody. I'm gonna start making sure I pull up the next stories. And I'll just take a minute to kind of settle myself while I do that, prep things. And then we'll get back into the next stories and we'll keep reading. I'm excited. Thank you. Oh, I got what you were saying. You're fine. I can't go live tomorrow. I'm so sorry. I'm prepping before my trip north, and then I'm gonna be gone for a couple weeks. So, Tego, I'll have to just see you another time. But I don't hold you accountable for that. Like, I don't hold it against you. That's what I mean. I will be back, and I will see you then. And I'll have all the videos up. You can watch them if you really wanna watch the stuffs. What was I doing? Yeah, I'm gonna take. That's totally fine. Hey, you're fine. You're totally fine. You'll just see me another time. It's. I will be back. Where's my freaking schedule? It's on my schedule. You can find it. It's there. It's findable. Where's the things? Everything is slow. Because I'm actively doing stuff and it's breaking down. Doesn't know what to do. Oh. There. Schedule. I have my next stream popping up as Sunday, March 10. You will see me again. Sunday, March 10. Okay? Yes, the stream elements thing. We're not leaving just yet. I'm just going to take a break real quick. And then I'll be back. But I can try and look into that right now if you want me to take a long time. I think it's better I just wait till tonight. Till after the stream is done. But okay. Yeah, put that tab away. Yes. Yes, that is the date I am back on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I love that little screaming cat, though. You need to make something? I don't know what that means. Okay, I have to go. I have to do the double check and set things up, and then I'll be back to you, screaming chat room. I'll be back. Okay. That thing. I'm back, and I can answer to go. I had this trip planned for a while. I'm visiting people's. Ah! I forgot to mute my freaking computer again. Oh, no, that's not the one I needed. Oh, what just happened? There we go. Hi. I've had this trip planned for a little while, and it's to visit people that I haven't been seeing. So, I'm sorry. You're SOL. Shit out of luck. I gotta go. I'm just glad that I got to get my technical issues sorted and get all of the antlers on, because I didn't have that for a while. And I'll see everybody when I'm back. I was kind of hoping I might be able to try and sort out, okay, well, how do I get it done that I can do stuff while I'm away, but it's gonna be crazy busy while I'm there anyway. Anyway, thank you. And yeah, it's bad timing that when I go, I'm back. Ooh, yeah, I didn't do the stream elements thing yet. No. When I get back, it's right after when I normally stream. So then there's the few days where I normally go without stream. And if y'all are really looking for it, maybe I'll Oh, okay. If you're really looking for it, maybe I'll do a stream once I'm back. That's just like an extra bonus stream because I've been away. But I haven't specifically set it in place yet. There's not a Discord server yet, but we are working on it, as Fetster says. And by we, it's mostly Fetster. Because I'm not great at this stuffs. But I'm gonna try and do things. I'm taking suggestions from people like Violet Spellcraft, if you know her. She is what got me over here. Yeah, it's getting closer. It's getting good. Oh, I like the idea of it. It's just we'll see what it pulls out. I really don't know how the trip will go. I could come back wanting to do a bunch more of this. I could come back wanting to hide in my bed or in a cave for 3 more days. I don't know what it will be. But with that, I've got the next stuff. So this isn't going to be the stories from one of the books. This is stories that I found from this website is called Oneida Nation, Oneida Indian Nation, and it's one of the groups in the Iroquois generals together. If you remember, I'll scroll back up to the very tip-tap top of this book. We had the foreword from the Onondagas, the Tuscaroras, the Oneidas, the Cayugas, and the Mohawks. So they're all Iroquois altogether, and you might call it Haudenosaunee instead. And so what we're doing, and the Seneca. Did I say Seneca? I hope I did. Anyway, I've got this that I was going to read when I was doing the Dear Woman stories, but I realized, like, I had been quick and I either got the wrong link or something got squabbled up. This is just a creation story and it's not the Dear Woman info. Oh, you're going to sleep? Okay. Yeah. Have a good night. We're here for cozy vibes, so falling asleep too is kind of the thing. I just probably pull a little bit off the mic. Okay. Well, then I'm glad to see more time zones. I'm always intrigued. Yeah, it's really late. Yeah, we know you're not going to sleep, Dumda, in the morning. Oh, yes. All right. The ad will run very shortly. You're very right. How do you know? Because you know. But yeah, then we'll go into the Oneida my brain website with all the lore that's in here, legends and stuff. Oh, yeah. Give up for a little bit. Don't fully wake up just yet. That's fine. Oh, it's your off day. Oh, nice. Oh, it's a nice time. And beds are nice. Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll read a few of these ones. And this website is good. It's got a bunch of different stuff. But specifically, we'll be looking at the legends and lore section because I think that's fun. But there's lots. If you are kind of interested in this stuff, it's a good website to look at. And I'll be linking it in the YouTube thing again, as I've done with the other chunk of stuffs. And I'm talking over the ad, but none of this is the story, so nobody really cares. It's fine. Yeah, I think I'll start with the creation story, and then we've got some others. That'll be pretty fun. I'm excited. Okay. Gotta prep this. Ooh, I have to erase my other note. Get rid of that. Make room on that page. Okay. No. Yeep. One-handed typing always. Okay. The Haudenosaunee creation story. Writing it down in all the places. Here we go. Yes, there was an ad, but it is gone now. Okay. The Haudenosaunee have always recognized that people are complex, possessing both good and bad qualities. The creation story serves as a reminder. No human is flawless. The Great Spirit alone is perfect. Keller George, Wolf Clan member of the nation's council, recounts the following story his maternal great-grandmother told him about the birth of evil spirit and the good spirit. Long, long ago, the earth was deep beneath the water. There was a great darkness because no sun or moon or stars shone. The only creatures living in this dark world were water animals such as the beaver, muskrat, duck, and loon. If you were here yesterday, we did have a story in the book that is going to be very, very similar to this, just barely different probably. But yeah, here we go. Stop doing that. Far above the water-covered earth was the land of the happy spirit, where the Great Spirit dwelled. In the center of this upper realm was a giant apple tree with roots that sank deep into the ground. Now I'm going to interrupt here and say, if we remember the chats, the sort of Christianization, sanitization stuff that the colonization did, this apple tree wasn't in the other book. And when I've been told this story, people have pondered it being an insertion of like the Garden of Eden thing. Oh, it's the apples. It's like, dude, no, where did that come from? Get out of here with that. Yeah. But this is what's written in this one, so we're going to keep going. Anyway, as I said, in the center of this upper realm was a giant apple tree with roots that sank deep into the ground. One day the Great Spirit pulled the tree up from its roots, creating a pit in the ground. The Great Spirit called to his daughter, who lived in the upper world. He commanded her to look into the pit. The woman did as she was told and peered through the hole. In the distance she saw the lower world, covered by water and clouds. The Great Spirit spoke to his daughter, telling her to go into the world of darkness. He then tenderly picked her up and dropped her into the hole. The woman, who would be called Sky Woman by those watching her fall, began to slowly float downward. And here, sometimes that version of the Great Spirit sending Sky Woman down is like she messed with the tree, not him, or there was a moral reason she got sent out, and that's why we're like, maybe it be Christianity with the apple and the lady doing wrong being sent out to the fun place. So yeah, anyway, also glad we're not the only ones who have muskrats. Yeah, it'd be the areas of muskrats. Okay. So she floats downwards. As Sky Woman continued her descent, the water animals looked up. Far above them they saw a great light that was Sky Woman. The animals were initially afraid because the light emanating from her. In their fear, they dove deep beneath the water. The animals eventually conquered their fear and came back up to the surface. Now they were concerned about the woman and what would happen to her when she reached the water. The beaver told the others that they must find a dry place for her to rest upon. The beaver plunged deep beneath the water in search of earth. He was unsuccessful. After a time, his dead body surfaced to the top of the water. The loon was the next creature to try to find some earth. He too was unsuccessful. Many others tried, but each animal failed. At last, the muskrat said he would try. When his dead body floated to the top, his little claws were clenched tight. The others opened his claws and found a little bit of earth. And I'll interrupt to say, our last version, they didn't talk about the other animals. They just said, and muskrat went, and so it didn't really explain why his poor little body was like dead. It's because it was really hard and all the animals tried, but he managed with his little claws, which the others probably didn't have. Okay. The water animals summoned a great turtle and patted the earth upon its back. At once the turtle grew and grew, as did the amount of earth. This earth became North America, a great island, also called Turtle Island. There you go. During all this time, Sky Woman continued her gentle fall. The leader of the swans grew concerned as Sky Woman's approach grew imminent. He gathered a flock of swans that flew upward and then allowed Sky Woman to rest upon their back. With great care they placed her upon the newly formed earth. Soon after her arrival, Sky Woman gave birth to twins. The firstborn became known as the Good Spirit. The other twin caused his mother so much pain that she died during his birth. He was to be known as the Evil Spirit. And, this is where I'll say I'm fairly certain I remember that some versions would say, the reason to some that Sky Woman got sent down is because she was pregnant. So, again, I think that was the Christianity thing. I think this story did good, this version of it, to kind of pull some of those bits away. But the Good Spirit, but not all of them even had her pregnant until after she it wasn't consistent. I think the other version we read had her pregnant after she got there. So, all of it's very different. Anyway, the Good Spirit took his mother's head and hung it in the sky, and it became the sun. The Good Spirit also fashioned the stars and moon from his mother's body. He buried the remaining parts of the Sky Woman under the earth. Thus, living things may always find nourishment from the soil, for it springs from Mother Earth. While the good spirit provided light, the evil spirit created the darkness. The good spirit created many things, but each time his brother would attempt to undo his good work. The good spirit made the tall and beautiful trees, including the pines and hemlock. The evil spirit, to be contrary, stunted some trees or put gnarls and knots in their trunks. Other trees he covered in thorns or poisoned their fruit. The good spirit made bear and deer. The evil spirit made poisonous animals such as lizards and serpents to destroy the animals created by his brother. When the good spirit made springs and streams of pure crystal water, the evil spirit poisoned some and placed snakes in others. The good spirit made beautiful rivers. The evil spirit pushed rocks and dirt into the rivers, creating swift and dangerous currents. Everything the good spirit made, his wicked brother attempted to destroy. After the good spirit completed the earth, he created man out of red clay. Placing the man upon the earth, the good spirit instructed the man how he should live. The evil spirit made a monkey from sea foam. And then that's it about the monkey. But okay, cool. He made monkey. Upon completion of his work, the good spirit bestowed a protecting spirit upon all his creations. This done, he called his brother and told him he must cease making trouble. The evil spirit emphatically refused. The good spirit became enraged at his brother's wickedness. He challenged his evil twin to combat. The winner would become the ruler of the world. For their weapons, they used the thorns of the giant apple tree. Which, when did apple trees have thorns? The battle raged for many days. The good spirit triumphed, overcoming his evil brother. The good spirit took his place as ruler of the earth and banished his brother to a dark cave under the ground. In this cave, the evil spirit was to remain. The evil spirit, however, has wicked servants who do his bidding and roam upon the earth. The wicked spirits are able to take any form and cause men to do evil things. This is the reason that everyone has both a good heart and a bad heart. Regardless of how good a man he is, he still possesses some evil. The reverse is also true, for however evil a man may be, he still has some good qualities. No man is perfect. The good spirit continues to create and protect mankind. It is the good spirit who controls the spirits of good men upon their death. His wicked brother takes possession of the souls of those who are evil like himself, and so it remains. The end. I will say, as I said to the last version of this story, though, oh, thank you for the follow. As I said at the last version, this bit is also Christianized a bit, because I remember a version where the twins were foretold with arrows, one being straight and one being bent, and it was not so much good and evil, more left and right, still dark and light, but less wrong and right, So the story is kind of to say that even the bad one still had good in him, unless that the bad will always do something to you. If you thought the way they described the evil spirit being cast out and being in charge of the evil people after they die sounded a little familiar to something else, well, yeah, probably because it was Christianized. But it's not too far off. There was still a degree of the story still being good and evil brothers, and in the different tellings, it's very possible that, even probable that that's how that was presented, but probably it's been turned more solidified into that version of them because of the Christianity, as far as I know. But yeah, that is the Haudenosaunee creation story, the second version of things that we have read. And we're going to move to the next Legend stories, but I thought I'd start with that one. Turtle Island. Okay. What do we want next? Autumn color? I think that one would be fun. Let's see. Real short. The little intro is, what do the Big Dipper and a giant bear have to do with the changing color of the leaves? Find out with this Haudenosaunee legend. Ooh. And I think that's a great choice. They're often short, at least in this version. Sometimes the telling in the native languages can take a longer time. Like the way you have the names and things, it's broken up differently sometimes, so that it could just physically take a lot longer to say all the words that go into a short story. But also, like, just the way you tell the story, there's often like more dragging it out. Yeah, exactly. They absolutely would be like, yeah. Okay. We love an oral tradition. Okay, autumn color. And I'm spelling it how they have it on the website. Don't judge me, Brits. Anyway. I'll put that up there. Autumn color. Ooh. And I already gave the little intro thing, so we'll skip along. Many years ago, a hunter discovered the tracks of a great bear. Soon, more and more tracks were discovered, often surrounding the entire village. The other animals, which the villagers relied upon for their food, began to discover, and it was apparent that the great bear was responsible for their loss. What? Oh, my brain didn't process this. The other animals began to disappear, and they blamed the bear. Cool. The people of the village were hungry, with their main source of food depleted. A party of warriors was sent out to kill the bear. After following the tracks for many days, the warriors came upon the bear and took aim with their arrows, but to no avail. The great bear's skin was too thick, and the arrows could not pierce it. The assault angered the bear, and he turned on the warriors, killing most of them. The surviving warriors returned to the village and told their story. Party after party of warriors went out to try to slay the bear, but all failed. The people were starving and afraid to leave their village, which the great bear would encircle each night. One night, 3 brothers had the same dream. The dream recurred for 3 nights. In the dream, the brothers saw a vision of themselves tracking and killing the great bear. Believing the dream to hold the truth, the brothers set off to find and kill the bear. They continued to follow the bear's tracks for many days until they came to the end of the earth. The great bear leapt from the earth into the heavens, and the 3 brothers followed the great bear into the sky. The 3 hunters can still be seen chasing the bear into the winter's night sky. In the fall, as the bear readies for its winter's sleep, the 3 hunters are able to get close enough to the bear to shoot their arrows into his body. His blood drips from the skies onto the autumn leaves, painting them red and yellow. The arrows do not kill the great bear, however. He always escapes. His wounds cause him to become invisible for a time, but he eventually reappears once again in the skies as the Big Dipper, with the 3 brothers still chasing after him. The end. Now I want to know exactly what the 3 brothers' constellations are. I'm assuming Orion's belt, because I think that one's pretty close. I don't know stars very well, but I think that one's pretty close to the Dipper. And I guess those particular constellations get closer in the fall. And then, bam, we get autumn. We get the blood dripping in the red leaves. Nice. I like it. It's a good one. This one is extremely short, so I'm wondering. Yeah, I'll read them just as I find them. Okay. Like in exactly that order. This one is Elder Stories. Oneida Elder Stories. The Last Treatment. Ooh. And it's a short one, and it says that it's kind of scary. It is referred to it at the very bottom. So, brace for spooky. Just call it The Last Treatment on here. Ooh. This one is saying, storytelling is an important component of the Oneida's oral tradition. Some stories are intended to teach a lesson, and they are passed from generation to generation to show others how to behave, how to act, and how to properly care for each other. Liz Roberts, Wolf Clan, shares a story about an encounter her great-grandmother experienced. My mother told me a story about my great-grandmother who was blind. One time, there was a woman who lived up on Onondaga Hill, with the extra on there, on Onondaga Hill, somewhere who... Oh my gosh, we're going to restart the sentence. One time, there was a woman who lived up on Onondaga Hill somewhere who had arthritis very, very bad. She was in a lot of pain. She had spread the word around that she wanted help for her arthritis. My great-grandmother said, "Well, I'll go up and see her." My mother was little then. She was about 5 or 6 years old. She used to go with her grandmother to lead her. Remember, she's blind. My great-grandmother told the woman, "I have medicine. I'll tell you what you want. I'll bring a quart up each week, and you drink that. It's $1 a quart, and you pay me at the end." So she took this medicine up for about a month, and that woman got well. The last treatment, the last jar she took up there, the woman said, "Well, I just want you to know that your medicine didn't help. The doctor's medicine helped me." My great-grandmother turned around with my mother and said, "Let's go back. I'll fix her." So they went home. The next morning they went up, and it was barely daybreak. They went up there, and when they got up there, my great-grandmother had a jar of the medicine, and she started pouring it right out until it emptied. They went home, and the very next day the woman died. So it sounds scary, but that's what happened to her. A little bit confused. Oh, okay. Great-grandmother said, "I have medicine. I'll bring it to you." Next to last treatment, the woman says, "Well, your medicine didn't actually help. The doctor's medicine helped." And then the last one, great-grandmother said that she'd bring that up, and then she dumped it out in front of her, and the woman died. So it was a disrespect thing, I think. Interesting. But that is that one. Yeah. The next one, Elder Stories again. But it's, what did he see? Well, I think in that particular, the way that story was put forward, we're missing pieces. I'm guessing that's how that went. But I don't know for sure what happened with that. But okay, what did he see? I don't know. Oh, and I had misspelled that. That disappoints me. Anyway, okay. What did he see? Yeah, disrespect of elders is not something you do, dude. Okay. Thus, that's the story. Oh, what did he see? The next elder story. The Oneida oral tradition is filled with wonderful tales from our elders which knit generations together through stories. Whether scary, interesting, or amusing, these stories strengthen bonds between people in a community. From the seemingly mundane to the overly dramatic, storytellers have their own style reflected in their words, the pace of their stories, and the drama they infuse in every description. Barbara Wood, by permission of Shirl Oatman, both are Turtle Clan, recall the next story. Oh yeah, it's not about lying to them in that story, because the woman she was bringing the medicine to was getting better, but like the way they told it, nobody asked, and she just said, "Oh, by the way, your medicine isn't actually what helping me." And that old lady was like, "I'm blind and I'm marching up this hill to you. I don't give it." Then this is what we're doing. I think. Hi, AK Nuggy. Welcome. We're reading some indigenous stories. We're getting into an elder story called What Did He See? And it's a dense little paragraph just like our last one, so I think that this might be mildly difficult to follow. But we'll see. It says, my uncle, Melvin George, used to walk to Vernon to get groceries and things. I remember this very plain. He used to walk over there and probably had something to drink first. He went one night. Oh, thank you for the follow. He went one night and was very upset when he came back. On his walk, all of a sudden, he looked up and saw this cow. It was like a cow with no head. It went across the road. When he got back, he said that he was scared. Everyone said, "You know you get into things when you get over there." He said, "No, I wasn't drinking. I saw that for sure." He saw it on Town Line Road, near the chapel over at Vernon. I remember him telling the story many times. We'd be sitting around and he'd say, "A lot of people thought I was drunk, but I had nothing to drink that night. I got close to it and the cow went across the road with no head on it." He said when he came back to the house he was scared. He was scared stiff because he didn't know what happened. Maybe he did see it. The Thurston farm had cows down there in the pasture, and my mother said he probably saw one of those. When we were kids, every time we went down there, we'd think about the cow with no head. So it was kind of scary. Still to this day, when I go on that road, I think about the cow with no head. He might have seen it, or maybe not. He talked about it many times. I think he saw a cow with no head. A cow with no head. It's kind of scary, isn't it? And then it has an image of, and it looks like either the cow has his head turned away or, yeah, no head. The crazy things you see. That one's fun. Let's see. I'll do. Hello. I will be going at least 40 minutes more. 40 minutes. There you go. Shuffle. But good to see you back, JB. Okay. Well then, we'll see you soon. The next story is a Lacrosse Legend. Now get that up. Oh my goodness, a bit. Ah, thank you. I really definitely don't mind, I promise. But thank you for showing up. And that is cool, and I appreciate things. But you definitely don't have to do that. If people had to, like, pay for bits every time they were late, quote unquote, to a stream, that would be so pointless. And very unfair to those of us in weird time zones. Poor Dumda would be stuck every time. This one is Lacrosse Legend. Hey, you would though if you had to. That would be a problem. Imagine if I made you pay for every time you showed up later than when I streamed, because you're in a different time zone. You'd start to hate me. Okay, but thank you. You certainly surprised me with it. I was like, oh, look at that. It's shiny and spinning. Okay. But it's all good. And we're going to read about lacrosse. Yay, broke. We all vibing with that. Okay. Lacrosse Legend. And the little caption that goes with it says, the following story is one version of a Haudenosaunee tale that teaches every creature has a purpose and importance according to the creator's plan. Lacrosse is in the forefront of the legend. I say it like that because it was in all italics and the other ones weren't in italics, so it felt like it was like a warning as opposed to part of the story like the other ones were. I don't know. Like you have to say it as fast as one of those auctioneer or the pharmaceutical commercial people. Side effects may include. Anyway, okay. Brain. Long ago, a lacrosse game was set to be played by the four-legged animals and winged birds. Captains for the animals were the bear, noted for overpowering all opposition due to his girth, the deer, known for speed and agility on the field, and the great turtle, who withstood harsh blows but continued to move toward his opposition. The winged bird captains were the owl, who was wise and whose sight allowed him to keep his eye on the ball, and the hawk and the eagle, each excelling in rapid movements. Distinguished little frog, Death Noah. As the birds were preparing for the game, they noted two little creatures climbing up a tree to their leaders. The small animals, a mouse and a squirrel, asked if they could be on the birds' team. Eagle was perplexed and asked why they did not ask the four-legged animals. The little creatures said that they had, but were rejected and laughed at by the other animals because they were small. Taking pity on the small creatures, the bird captains contemplated how they could incorporate the mouse and squirrel into their team. Are you back? Well, hello, JB. Welcome back. But how would they do it? Oh, no, wait, no. The decision was to make wings for the little animals. Ooh, but how would they do that? One innovative bird thought the leather used for water drums could be removed from the drum head and attached to the legs of the little mouse. The result was the bat was created. Woot woot, that's how we have bats. Cool. Thank lacrosse for bats. I like it. Although now that paints the bat as like a jock animal, and I don't know if I like that. Anyway, the birds ordered the bat to catch the lacrosse ball when they threw it in the air. He showed great skill in circling and dodging and managed to keep the ball constantly in motion, never dropping it to the ground. His remarkable skill convinced the birds to allow him to play on their team. Alas, there was no more leather to make wings for the squirrel. It had all been used for the bat's wings, and there wasn't enough time to acquire more. With time running out, one bird suggested stretching the squirrel's skin in hope of making wings. After much tugging and pulling of the fur between the front and back feet, the wings were made, and the flying squirrel was created. Heck yeah, flying squirrel, woo woo. Now the game could begin. Two of the captains, Eagle and Bear, met at a face-off, and a face-off began. The flying squirrel caught the ball and passed it to Hawk, who kept it in the air for some time. But then, as the ball nearly hit the ground, the eagle saved it, and through elaborate maneuvers kept possession of the ball, even saving it from the fastest of the four-legged animals, the deer. Faking a pass to Squirrel, Eagle passed it to Bat, who scored the winning goal for the birds. The legend illustrates that everyone has qualities that can be of great help when needed, no matter how big or small you may be. The end. Heckin' yes, we got birds and flying squirrels. Or not bats and flying squirrels. But that's cute. I like it. And they have more where you can go to a specific cultural center that has more on that particular story. I like it. That was fun. And we already did Haudenosaunee creation story. Aha, I have the next one. Do. Huh? There we go. It is called The Legend of the Gift of Tobacco. If you didn't know, you'll learn with this that tobacco is very significant. It's a medicine plant, but yeah. No. Misspelling tobacco. Don't do that. There we go. Okay. Legend of... Yeah, smoking it, but this is the thing. This is the indigenous stuff. We don't talk about it. It's a very sacred thing. So, I know what you mean and all of that. You don't smoke, kids, but still, this is important. Okay, anyway. Long before there were classrooms, chalkboards, pencils, and erasers, the people of the Oneida Indian Nation were effectively teaching their children through stories. These tales are rich with lyricism and life lessons, it says. Don't worry, you can't. You can't smoke? Perfect. We like to hear it. Keller George, Wolf Clan representative to the nation's council, shares the following legend he recalls from his childhood about the gift of sacred tobacco. Here we go. Ah, yes. Asthma will do that. Anyway. Many, many winters ago, a band of Haudenosaunee were camped along a river. One day, as the people were working, they passed when they heard an unfamiliar sound coming from the river. Rushing to the river's edge, the people strained to see what was making the noise, which at one moment sounded like a howling animal, and another like people chanting. Suddenly, a booming voice echoed from the river just as a canoe appeared filled with odd beings. The occupants of the canoe, who were dressed in the style of medicine men, were beating a large kettle drum and chanting a strange song. As the canoe floated closer to the village, the booming voice again was heard coming from the canoe, warning the villagers to go to their homes and stay inside. The voice warned the people if they disobeyed, bad luck would be heaped upon them. Most of the people were frightened by the warning and ran to their homes. However, several villagers refused to be afraid of the strange creatures and stood on the bank of the river watching them approach. When the canoe passed by, the people remaining by the river bank fell down and died. The odd beings in the canoe continued moving down the river. The next day, a relative of one of the dead gathered a war party seeking revenge. They paddled down the river looking for the odd beings. The following day, the war party came upon the strange beings sleeping in their canoe that was floating in a sheltered bay. From out of the canoe, the voice again boomed, this time ordering the warriors to destroy the strange beings. The voice said that great blessings would come to the Haudenosaunee if they followed instructions. All but one warrior went and hid in the forest next to the river. The lone remaining warrior threw stones at the odd beings, who awoke shouting. The warrior ran off, with odd beings running after him. The warrior led the beings into a trap. The other warriors joined him, and they killed the odd beings and burned their bodies. From the ashes emerged a strange plant. It was tobacco. The booming voice again was heard, this time coming from the earth. The voice told the warriors how to prepare the plant and how to use it. This plant, the tobacco, was a great gift to the Haudenosaunee. And that's the end of that one. Ooh. I know that the significance wasn't really walked through there, but it's used in ceremonies. It's very significant. I would prefer if we had one that's spelled that all out. Maybe if we find beliefs and traditions on the site, maybe they'll say it. Celebration of the strawberry, long ball, fishing, snow snake. There's the description of snow snake. Cornbread. 3 sisters. Nope. I don't think we're gonna get it. Yeah, just companion planting the sisters, which we read a story, a version of, and we'll go back to the other one. The next story will be of the 3 sisters, the legend of the 3 sisters, which is the corn, beans, and squash. And we read a version of that where they weren't 3 sisters, but they were 2 women and 1 man. And that will probably be fairly similar stuff going on here. Violet, you are here. Ah, hello. Give them cheese. Where's my cheese? There's some stinky cheese for y'all. There you go. Hello. I've got more follows. Guess what, Violet? Guess what? I've got 100 followers. 100. Welcome. We're good. We're reading more indigenous stories. Yeah, I hit 100. We had a whole dance party and emotes. It was fun. Thank you. Thank you for more follows, guys. That's very nice. I mean, folks. Thank you. Okay. And what's so odd is that everybody's here for this. This is my last stream for a couple weeks, FYI. Just warning, because I'll be. Thank you. Yes, I love them too. I'm glad you see them. I'm going to be leaving for a short while, and I'll be back and streaming March 10. Maybe I'll have another one a couple days before that. But 500 will follow soon. Thank you. I just saw that one because Cage Nightwind called attention to it. Thank you, Elgor. Yeah, it's been going really well, and I'm glad that we're reading these. It's indigenous stories, specifically the Iroquois, or Haudenosaunee is what they call themselves. And we're just reading different legends from them. We were reading a whole book full of stories, and my videos will be up for you to watch on here or on YouTube for longer times. If you want to watch them, my YouTube is on my About Me section. But yeah, we're about to read The Legend of the Three Sisters, and we read a version, or, something that at least refers to this. I don't know which kind of version of the story it'll be, but we read Three Sisters plants thing. It's easy to upload, that's why. We read that version earlier tonight. It's going to be interesting, and I'll probably be comparing it to the other one that we read. So I'll try and explain for all of you many that are here that were definitely not here before. But thank you, Cage Nightwind, for saying that I'm incredibly quick at the VODs. I am. I'm usually good about it. I'm not always. I usually, after I stream, hit the export and then get myself ready for bed or work on whatever the hell I'm working on. And then the thing is up when it needs to be up. Okay, so we're gonna read The Legend of the Three Sisters now. I'm not always gonna get pronunciations right, but for the most part I got pronunciations. And you can find the stories that I'm reading online. I will have the link in the description on the YouTube thing, if you want to learn more about this stuff. But here we go. There are several legends surrounding the three sisters. Can confirm, we read another one. Indeed, almost every American Indian nation seems to have its own. The Cherokee legend involves three women who helped each other stay fed, hydrated, and strong on the Trail of Tears, a lesson that the Cherokee used in planting their crops when they arrived in the Oklahoma Territory. Another legend describes three sisters who bickered constantly until their mother gave each of them an egg cooked in a different way and showed the sisters that, although the textures of the eggs were different, they were still eggs. There's also the one that we read, which was essentially a man and two women. The man is calling for a wife. One woman responds and he says, "Hey, you're great, but I don't think you're going to stay on the same path that I'm going to. And I want someone that's going to be with me every step of the way I go." "Oh, are you headed out, JB? All right. Good night. Adios. Sleep well." But yes, here we are. I think this will be eggs. It's very possible that this is about egg. Here we go. This is one version of the Haudenosaunee legend of the Three Sisters. Oh, okay. Awesome. Thank you for lurking like that. Alright. Very long ago, there were three sisters who lived in a field. The youngest was so small she could not yet walk. She crawled along the ground dressed in green. The middle sister wore a bright yellow dress and darted back and forth across the field. The eldest sister stood tall and straight and let her body bend, and her body bent with the wind. She had long yellow hair and wore a green shawl. The three sisters loved one another very much and could not imagine living without the others. Ooh. Yes, you do that. Okay. One day, a little Indian boy came to the field. He was very handsome and knew the ways of the land. He could talk with the birds and the animals and was straight and fearless. The three sisters were very interested in this boy as they watched him use his stone knife to carve a bowl or hunt with his bow and arrow. Late in the summer of the boy's first visit to the field, the youngest of the three sisters disappeared. She was the one who could only creep along the ground. She could not even stand unless there was a stick she could cling to. But she was gone, and the other two sisters mourned her until the fall. The Indian boy returned to the field to gather reeds that grew at the edge of a small stream. He used the reeds to make arrow shafts. The two remaining sisters again watched him, fascinated. That night, the second sister disappeared, the one who always wandered hither and yon. Now there was only one sister left, the tall and straight sister. She did not bow her head in sorrow, though she mourned deeply and thought she could not live in the field alone without her sisters. As the days grew shorter and colder, her green shawl began to lose its color, and her yellow hair became dry and tangled. Night and day she sighed for her sisters, but her voice was low like the wind, and no one heard her. One day in the harvest season, the little Indian boy heard the third sister crying, and he felt sorry for her. He took her in his arms and carried her to his home, and there a delightful surprise awaited her. Her sisters were in the lodge, safe and very glad to be reunited. They explained that they had been curious about the little Indian boy and had followed him home, and they had decided to stay because winter was coming, and this home was warm and comfortable. The sisters also were making themselves useful to the boy and his family. The youngest, now all grown up, kept the dinner pot full, while the second sister, still in her yellow dress, dried herself on the shelf so she could fill the dinner pot later in the winter. The eldest sister, was so pleased to be with her sisters again, and so impressed with the heap they gave the boy, that she too began drying herself so the family would have meal to use as the winter went on. And from that day to this, the three sisters were never separated again. These three sisters, it's not listed here, were corn, squash, and beans. And I'm pretty sure, it only makes sense. Squash is the youngest, the little one on the ground. Beans is the one that's bouncing around. Oh, thank you for the follow. Because the beans will crawl all sorts of directions. And then corn was the eldest, tall and straight, because it's corn. It's pretty straightforward. But the other story we read, corn was the man. Thank you for follows. Oh my goodness, you guys. Corn was the man who called out for a wife, and Squash showed up, and they were all planted on these separate hills. Squash had come a far way, and the illustrations with that story was also really good. And Corn said, I think you're going to be going off on your own trail, because Squash was low into the ground and going everywhere else. Hello. Yeah, go ahead and lurk. It's all good. And then Corn kept calling for a wife, and that's when Beans showed up, and that was Bean is also going to go up straight, and then the story is now you plant the beans with the corn, and then you add squash in too every now and then, but you don't have to always, because Squash is going off on her own, and it said at the end that cornfields that white men had planted, the corn is often flowing and still crying out, and that's because it doesn't have his wife, that you have to plant the beans. So there you go. I thought it was cute, hey, all those cornfields that are only corn, you gotta add the beans, dum-dum. There you go. I thought that one was cute like that. But yeah, the three sisters, and I'm pretty sure there's yet another three sisters story somewhere. There's lots about the three sisters. Poor Corn and Beans separated forever. Yeah. Come on, white men, what are you doing? But squash be squash. And it was so cute the way Corn was like, hey, you're great, but I think what you thrive at is not what I thrive at. Essentially, it was like, we like to see the support, my dude. Yeah. But okay, the next one, I have not seen this name. I'm going to quickly look over. But I think this is an extension of some of the creation story stuffs. I don't know. But okay, this one is called Godasiyo, maybe? Godasiyo, the woman chief. I'm going to pronounce it Godasiyo. Let's hope that's it. And I'm just writing that down. And then I'll put it up and we'll read it. Oh. I'm spelling everything all the time, huh? Okay. Godasiyo, the woman chief. As Haudenosaunee legends were passed down from generation to generation, the stories took on many variations. The legends we present here are only one version of these ageless stories. That was the little caution in italics again. At the beginning of time, when Turtle Island was still new, a woman chief named Godasiyo ruled over an Indian village next to a large river. Godasiyo was a wise and progressive chief, and people came from all over to live in her village. In those days, all people spoke the same language and lived in harmony and peace. Even when newcomers arrived in the village from far away, they had no trouble understanding the villagers or being understood themselves. Over time, the village grew so large that half the people lived on the north side and half on the south. They spent much time canoeing back and forth across the rapid-flowing river, especially those on the north side, because the council house was on the south side of the river. Some complained about the difficulties of crossing the river, and Godasiyo ordered a bridge be built to make transport between the north and south easier for everyone. Thanks for the follow! Shortly after the bridge was built, a white dog appeared in the village and became very attached to Godasiyo, following her wherever she went. The people on the north side of the river became jealous of the dog and demanded that the chief kill the animal. When she refused, they returned to the north side of the river and destroyed the bridge. Distrust and bad feelings between the people on the two sides of the river grew so much that Godasiyo feared it would lead to war. Not wishing to see brother fight against brother, she proposed moving the south portion of the village up the river to a new home. Almost everyone living on the southern side of the river agreed to join Godasiyo, and they built many canoes for the journey. 2 young men built a special vessel for Godasiyo. They fastened 2 large canoes together with strong poles and built a platform across the canoes for her to sit on, accompanied by her white dog. The flotilla of canoes, led by Godasiyo's vessel, stretched as far as the eye could see along the great river. After paddling a long distance, the voyagers came to a fork in the river. Some in the flotilla wanted to take the branch to the right, and others wanted to take the one on the left. Unable to agree on which way to go, those on the right turned their canoes up the right-hand channel, while those on the left began paddling up the left-hand channel, and so the people began to separate. 2 young men paddling Godasiyo's canoe disagreed as to which way they should go, and they fell into a violent quarrel. The man on the right had been paddling toward the right, and the man on the left had been paddling toward the left. And so strong were their strokes that Godasiyo's platform slid off its supports and fell into the river, carrying her possessions, and her white dog with it. The people on both sides of the river tried to rescue their beloved chief, but they could see nothing but fish swimming in the clear waters. The people on the right and the people on the left then tried to talk to each other, but they could not understand each other no matter how they shouted. When Godasiyo drowned in the great river, her people's language changed. This was how it was that the Indians were divided into many nations spreading across America, each of them speaking a different language. The end. Ooh, okay. That's how that one went, eh? What do we think of that? I like okay, well, we'll go along, we'll move. But you'd also already moved, you've separated, so I thought they were going to get a little bit more specific. In that direction, that became this. In that direction, became that. But, oh well. The next one is how the clans were chosen. And the image on this is little homes, wigwams with different animals above them. It looks like turtle, wolf, and bear on these particular smoke designs. Oh, cooperate thing. How the clans were chosen. Okay. The legend of how the 3 clans were chosen is believed to have its origins in the Haudenosaunee mourning process. Now, the different nations and such will have different clans. I guess this is the Oneida specific, but it says Haudenosaunee. The different groups within the 6 nations of Haudenosaunee have different clans to each of them. I'm not familiar with all of the clans, but yeah, this is just 3 of many in the broader sense. Maybe this is just the first 3? I don't know. Okay. Long ago, the entire village used to mourn the death of a family member, causing ceremonies and other important decisions to be put off. The custom to postpone important decisions created problems for the village as regular business matters were set aside. For a long while, the village could not find a way that allowed the village to mourn the death of a village member, as is custom, and continue with the village's day-to-day matters. The leaders of the village were at an impasse. One day, a young man of the village decided he would approach the leaders and offer his solution to the village's problem. He proposed to the leaders to send the eldest women of the village down to the river to spend the night. The young man said to the leaders, "Ask those women to make a fire near the river and spend the night. Ask them that at first light the following morning pray to the Creator and afterward take notice of the first animal that comes to the river. Once this happens, ask the women to return to the village and tell you what they saw." The women returned from the river later the following morning. They met with the leaders, and they were asked to tell what they had seen. The first woman said she saw a turtle at the edge of the river. The second woman said she saw a wolf running along the river. The third woman said she saw a bear feeding in the river on the rocks. The leaders then appointed the turtle, wolf, and bear clans to each family via the women, and it was decided that the family clan would pass through the mother from generation to generation, as they have the Creator's gift to create life. Now, with the clans established, when one clan had a death in the family, one of the remaining clans would console the grieving clan, leaving the other clan to attend the village's ceremonies and important day-to-day business. The end. I'm glad that it included that it's passed woman to woman. A lot of groups are matriarchal like that, or at least you pass your central identity through mom, and there's a whole trickety life of the colonizers wanting things to go through dad, but the indigenous folks wanting things to go through mom, that make pinning down who and what you are very difficult. It's very interesting. I remember the Indian Act having specific issues with qualifying, and they had to rectify it and make it that the mom could actually specify it. I hit a button. Do not pay any attention to my tears. They are not real. I hit a button. Okay. The next one and the last on the page is the legend of the no-face doll. The no-face doll, which sounds like it's going to be spooky, but maybe it won't. I think probably it'll end up being very wholesome, but I think a doll with no face can be spooky in modern times, certainly. Opte. To this day, the Haudenosaunee people do not put faces on their corn husk dolls. Learn why. Okay, so there you go. The Haudenosaunee people respect what they call the sustainers of life, the three sisters, corn, beans, and squash. The corn spirit was so thrilled to be one of the sustainers of life that she asked the Great Spirit if there was anything more that she could do for her people. She did. She was so excited. The Great Spirit told her that a doll could be formed from her husk. So she made the doll from her husk and gave the doll a beautiful face. Then the doll went from village to village and played with the children. Everywhere she went, everyone kept telling her how beautiful she was, so it didn't take long before she became conceited. The Great Spirit called to her, but before she went into the Great Spirit's lodge, she looked into a pool of water to admire herself. The Great Spirit talked to her and told her that if she kept thinking that she was better than everyone else, a terrible punishment would come upon her. But he couldn't tell her what it would be. So again the doll went from village to village playing with the children, and again everyone kept telling her how beautiful she was. It wasn't long before she became conceited again. The Great Spirit called her, and once again she looked into the pool of water to admire herself before going into the lodge. Upon entering, the Great Spirit said to her, "I have given you one warning. Now a great punishment will come upon you." But he still wouldn't tell her what it was. When she left the lodge, she looked again into the pool of water to admire herself, but this time she didn't have a face. The Great Spirit had taken it away. Since that time, the Haudenosaunee people do not put a face on their corn husk dolls. This is to remind people never to think that they are better than anyone else, or a great punishment will fall upon them. Ooh, okay. Well, the fact that the doll was like living and walking around and then became, conceited, that is a little bit spooky. I will say it is. But okay, that's your explanation. Let's see how many stories are on the second page. There's 6 more stories. So I think I'll do 6 stories and then I'll be done for the stream and done until I'm back. But my thing is saying that I have 6 minutes before an ad forces itself upon us. I've been doing the snooze button, but we're going to have to run into it eventually. So I will read the next story and then I'll probably have to subject you to that. I'm sorry. The next one is called The Legend of the Thunder Boy. I think... No, I think this will be a little bit different. It is not Why Lightning Strikes Sometimes. We read that story earlier. But I think maybe it'll be similar to that if you were here for that one. The Legend of Thunder Boy. Thunder Boy. No note of me ending my stream soon enough. Well, it's still a little ways away. Okay. Wishing to dispel fear, the ancient people sought an explanation for the booming phenomenon of thunder. This tale illustrates why the Haudenosaunee people never fear the rumbling that often accompanies spring rains. Ooh. You like the little Prince Charming frog? I like him too. Okay. Oh, don't go too far. Long ago, man and his wife and their daughter lived alone on an island in the country of the Haudenosaunee. The family raised corn, beans, and squash in their large garden. One day, as the family toiled outside, the sky grew very dark. Clouds blocked the sun as they gathered swiftly overhead. The father yelled to his wife and daughter, telling them to seek shelter in their longhouse before the heavy downpour ensued. The mother also yelled for her daughter, telling her to quit her work and come into the house. After issuing their warning, the parents fled into their home. Before they could make it halfway home, heavy rain began to fall. Lightning illuminated the sky and thunder rumbled above them. When they reached their home, they waited for their daughter. The couple believed their child was following behind. When she did not arrive, they thought she had sought shelter in the forest to escape the storm. Ooh, that is a nice sandwich. Be very cozy. Yes. Okay, sorry. As the rain abated, the parents returned to the field to look for their child. But the search was in vain. Their calls went unanswered. With heavy hearts, they went back to their home. "The Thunder people have taken her away from us," said the mother as she wiped her tears. Everybody's jealous of your sandwich now. Why? How rude of you. I can best all of you. I have Nutella cupcakes waiting for me. Anyway, the mother's fears were not unfounded. Before the storm hit the island, the daughter was indeed working in the fields. She heard her parents' cries to stop her work and come home. She dropped her hoe and started to follow them, but her flight was impeded. Without any warning, a sudden heavy mist surrounded her, and she became dizzy. She became very dizzy, Suddenly she felt herself being lifted up into the sky. Dazed and unable to resist, she was carried far up above the earth. The girl eventually found herself in a strange land. Upon being placed back on the ground, she saw a little man, the one who had brought her to the strange place. The little man took her by the hand and led her to a long council house. Upon entering the house, the girl saw many other little men, all of whom stared at her unabashedly. At the far end of the house, the chief of the little people sat. The little chief appeared to be very angry when he saw the girl and her escort. "Son," said the chief, "why would you bring an earth person to our country?" "Father," replied the son, "I saw her working in the field and fell instantly in love with her. I had to have her for my own, so I brought her to our country." The chief's anger remained. He told his son that the girl should stay upon the earth, that her ways were very different. "She cannot eat snails, bugs, and worms as we do," said the chief, "but if you insist on keeping her with you, you must return to the earth and bring back food for her. Remember, the ways of the Thunder people are different from the ways of the Earth people." Oh yes, that's the thing. There you go. The son loved the girl and agreed to provide her with food. Every day he would travel down to Earth to secure food for the girl who would become his wife. For 1 year, the Earth girl lived in the country of the Thunder people. Her husband doted upon her, fulfilling her every wish. She was very happy. Even though she missed her parents, she never felt lonesome. Then one day the chief came to the girl, telling her she would soon give birth to a son. "You must return to your island home, as your son should not be born in this land. Before you go, there is one thing I must warn you. After the boy is born, you must guard him well, warning everyone never to strike him. If someone should strike the boy, you will lose him forever." And there's an ad about to start. So I will stop there and let the ad run. Okay. But this is sounding a good deal like the other story, if you hear me. That last paragraph sounds like this is gonna be the lightning. And, yeah, it's, again, the Thunder Peoples. 2, 1, 0. Ad should be done now. Yay. Okay. Immediately following the chief's warning, the girl was once again surrounded by a heavy mist. Again she became dazed and found herself traveling at great speed back down toward the earth. In just a short period of time she opened her eyes to find herself back in her homeland in front of her parents' house. The girl's parents were elated. They thought they had lost their child forever. The girl shared her strange experience with her parents, informing them that she would soon give birth to a son. The prediction of the Thunder People's chief came true. The girl did have a son. The boy was smaller than an Earth child, and many of his habits were different from an ordinary boy's. Sometimes the boy's behavior perplexed his family. For instance, whenever a thunderstorm approached the island, the boy would become very excited. He would run outdoors and laugh and play about in the storm. As he romped in the rain, the thunder seemed to roar louder and more frequently. Lightning flashes accompanied the thunder, brightening up the sky. The boy's grandmother did not like his preoccupation with the storm. She did not like him running out into the inclement weather. Whenever a storm approached, she would attempt to shut the boy up in the house. Her efforts were to no avail, however, as he always managed to escape. One day, as a storm threatened, the grandmother locked the boy inside the house. She scolded the boy and forbade him to go outside. The boy became very angry. He ran around the house, breaking everything in his path. The grandmother warned him to control his temper, but this only made him angrier. A strange thing happened when the boy became angry. Faint sounds, reminiscent of distant thunder, came from his body. The angrier he became, the louder the sound. The grandmother insisted he stop the noise and his tantrum. The boy ignored her and continued to wreak havoc upon the house. The grandmother was enraged. She took a stick and struck the boy across his legs. Instantly there was a blinding flash of lightning, followed by deafening thunder. A heavy mist consumed the room. The grandmother was terrified and fled to a corner to wait out the disturbance. When the mist cleared, the boy was gone. Far off in the distance, she heard a faint roll of thunder. When the boy's mother returned and saw that her son was gone, she knew what had happened. She cried to her mother, "You struck my son, and now his father has taken him to live with the Thunder People. We shall never see him again." The Thunder Boy stayed with his father's people, but he never forgot his mother and the fact he was half Haudenosaunee. The Thunder People remember this fact and remain friends with the Haudenosaunee and do not bother them. In the early spring, at the arrival of the first thunder, it is believed to please the Thunder People if tobacco, sacred to the Haudenosaunee people, is thrown upon the fire. The end. So there you can kind of see a little peek of it is part of ceremony and tradition. When you're at the fire, you throw the tobacco into the fire at spring. But there was the Thunder Boy. A fun one. The next is the Legend of the Hermit Thrush, and we definitely read a version of that. And then we also have 2 stories that we read a version of earlier, but the other 2 are completely different. So I think I'll read the 3 that we already kind of read, and then we'll end off on the last 2 that are new, if we're up for that. But yeah, the next is the Legend of the Hermit Thrush. Whoop, that's not what I meant. Of the Hermit. Nope. Thrush. Haha. Okay. The legend of the hermit thrush was told by parents to teach their children the value of honesty, is the little precursor this one has. Long, long ago, the birds had no song. It was a time when only humans had this melodious gift. Each day the people would sing a song of greeting to the sun as it rose, and one of farewell as it set. The birds admired the songs and would often stop their flight and listen to the beautiful voices. In their hearts they wished they too could be endowed with this gift. Then one day everything was to change. The Creator decided to visit the earth. As the Creator walked through the forest, he noticed there was a great silence. The Creator knew something was missing. He was pondering the silence when from over the hills he heard a song from people in a village saluting the setting sun. He heard the Indian drums and it says scared, but I think it's sacred chanting of the sunset song. The song pleased the Creator. The Creator saw that he was not alone listening to the beautiful song. The birds were silently listening to the villagers. The Creator immediately realized what was missing. The birds too should have a song, said the Creator. The next day, the Creator called the birds to a great council. Birds came from great distances, till soon the sky was filled with every variety. The birds were so numerous, their combined weight bent the trees and bushes upon which they perched. When the birds grew silent, the Creator spoke. He asked the birds if they would like to have the gift of song. In one voice, the birds answered the Creator, chirping a resounding yes. Very well, said the Creator, who then proceeded to instruct the birds on how they would receive their individual songs. The Creator told the birds that the next morning as the sun rose, they were to fly up into the sky, flying as far as their wings would carry them. When they could fly no further, they would find their song. The bird who attained the highest flight would receive the most beautiful song. When the Creator finished directing the birds, he vanished. Before the sun rose the next morning, the birds were preparing for their flight. Birds blanketed the earth, full of excitement. All were excited except for one, the little brown thrush. The tiny bird was perched next to the eagle. As the thrush looked at the differences between himself and the eagle, the thrush despaired, believing he would have no chance to compete against so large a bird. Suddenly, the thrush decided upon a plan. The little thrush noted the eagle's distracted excitement and swiftly flew onto the eagle's head and buried himself under the eagle's feathers. The eagle did not notice the little thrush hidden between his feathers. He was busy thinking what he would win because of his great wings. Following the Creator's directions, the birds began their flight as the sun rose. The flutter of the collected wings roared across the sky. So many birds were vying for the most beautiful song that their presence in the sky eclipsed the sun. Time passed, and gradually the smaller, weaker birds became tired. The little hummingbird was the first to fall out of the race. The tiny bird beat his little wings so fast that to this day, if one listens closely, the humming of his wings creates a constant refrain of, "Wait for me, wait for me." A simple, plain song. The next bird to stop his descent was the cowbird, a very fat bird. He too was awarded a very simple song. One after another, the birds began to weaken. As they began their descent, flying in easterly direction, they listened and learned their individual song. Finally, the sun began to set, and the darkness enveloped the earth. Only a few birds remained in contention for the most beautiful song. The eagle, hawk, owl, buzzard, and loon, the stronger, larger birds, continued their upward climb. Throughout the night, the birds rose higher and higher into the sky. When the sun rose, only one bird was left, the eagle. As the day progressed, the eagle grew weary, Believing he was the lone bird left, he began to triumphantly soar toward the earth. The little thrush was still hiding in the eagle's feathers, having slept through the trip. As the eagle began to dip back toward the earth, the little thrush awoke and hopped off the eagle's head and started his upward flight. The eagle saw the thrush and realized what had happened, but was too exhausted to stop him. The little thrush flew and flew until he came to a hole in the sky. He was in a beautiful place, the land of happy spirits. Upon his entrance into this world, he heard a beautiful song. He stayed in this wondrous land until he had learned the song. When he was certain he knew the song completely, he flew back to earth. As he began his descent, his heart beat with anticipation, so eager was he to show off his song. But the thrush's happiness was not to last. As he approached the earth, he saw before him all the birds gathered around Council Rock. Seated upon the rock was the eagle, glaring up at him. A great silence came upon them as they waited for the thrush to reach the ground. Now the little thrush felt shame, not glory. He knew he had cheated to receive the beautiful song, and he began to fear Eagle's anger. Instead of flying to the Council Rock to face the eagle and the other birds, little Thrush flew into the deep woods in shame and with a heavy heart hid under the branches of the largest tree. His shame was so great that he wished never to be seen. The hermit thrush remains hidden in the tree to this day, never leaving his self-imposed prison. His shame is great because he realizes he cheated, but sometimes he cannot restrain himself and he sings his beautiful song. When this happens, the other birds fall silent. They know they cannot compete against the thrush's song from the spirit world, a song that causes the sun to shine upon the hearts of those entering the dark forest. And then at the end it has a link to listen to the thrush songs and calls that a mathematics professor recorded. So that's very cool. And that's the end of that story, but the version that we read before yesterday includes essentially, instead of humans being involved at all, the Great Spirit, I think they say instead of creator, tells the birds that if you go to this place, you'll get the nice song, but you have to get all the way through to, and they said it where the thrush got to, was the, where was it? The exact words I want to use. Ooh. The land of the happy spirits. I think it's something like that. And so all the birds knew somebody's got to make it there to get the song and bring it back. And they had discussed who would go. And they decided that it would be Eagle. But Thrush wanted to go too. He did. And so he hid and he went. And the eagle gave up. He just couldn't make it. But Thrush made it through the way that it's listed here. And learned the song and then came back. But he was just too shy. He was so shy. And he knew the song, but he also knew if he ever sang it in front of the birds, well, then they would know. They would know that he was on Eagle's head and had cheated that way. But it wasn't really like, it's about cheating and you lied. It was, that version was like, well, he was just a shy little guy. He didn't want anyone to know that he had snuck away like that. So he's very shy about when he sings, but he does have the most beautiful song. And it wasn't about the birds getting whose song. I think I like this version for that, but I like the other one for the lack of shame, and it's more of like just shy instead. Because I think in the previous version that I've read, if the other birds heard the thrush, they'd be like, oh, that's so cool though, I'm so glad that somebody made it, you know, hopefully, as opposed to this version where they're like, you little cheating mother. All the birds swearing at the little thrush. Yeah. So, interesting. Very interesting to know the different versions. The next one is the legend of how the bear lost his tail. Okay. How the how the bear lost his tail. And I will have to go to the next page again. Woo! So many stories. The legend. If you didn't know, I write down all the stories I read so that I can make sure I put them in the YouTube uploads, and so that I don't read the same story twice without knowing. Usually my memory's good, but just in case, if there's months later, I can be like, oh, wait a second, I did read this. Oh no way! This one has a whole video and it's a whole book. So we won't be reading this one, maybe. They've got YouTube links to watch the whole thing. I won't be reading it, never mind. Scratch that right off the frickin' screen. Scrap. But the way the bear loses his tail is the fox is a little shit, essentially, and convinces the bear to try and go fishing. This particular one I can't. This link, but we have read it already. The fox goes and convinces the bear to fish using his tail, putting his tail in the water, and then he waits for the fish to grab his tail, because that's what the fox said happens, and then he waits so long that the water freezes, and then some kerfuffle happens, animals are roaring about, and the bear has to be free, and he rips off his tail because it got frozen in the water, and now he only has a little stump of a tail. But it's really cool. They've got their children's book of it and a little video. Yeah. It looks awesome. Like I said, I'll be putting up the link so people can have access to it. I'll copy this last page of collection of the stories and put that in the chat. And how the bear lost his tail is right there on there. But now, how about how the chipmunk got its stripes? Nope. That one, they have an audio recording version. Well, there you go. They stole that away. But we also read that one before. This is cool. Oh, it's sad for tonight, but I'm glad of that. I'm glad they put that together. It's awesome. Okay. Medicines or mosquitoes? Which one do we want to read now? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Medicines, mosquitoes. How about we read The Legend of the Mosquitoes now? And I will say the art that goes with it, it has a giant mosquito. Or a very tiny man, I don't know. But it's interesting. It looks very interesting. And I've confirmed that both of those stories are indeed ones that I can read out for us tonight. Legend of the Mosquitoes. Okay. Very fun art. But okay. The Haudenosaunee have an explanation as to why these pesky creatures torment people during the milder months. Every year as the warm weather returns, an unpleasant accompaniment to balmy climes also makes a reappearance. The mosquitoes. A long, long time ago, on the opposite shores of a river in Haudenosaunee country, two giant mosquitoes came to rest. These mosquitoes were as big as a pine tree. As the Haudenosaunee paddled down the river in their canoes, they were vulnerable to attack by these hideous giant bugs. As the people passed by, the mosquitoes swooped down and attacked the canoeists with their beaks, killing many. To avoid these assaults, the Haudenosaunee simply changed their route, avoiding this river altogether. But it was to no avail. The mosquitoes moved to other venues to seek their prey. These continued attacks caused great problems for the Haudenosaunee, who used waterways as a main means of transportation. The people never knew when or where they would be attacked and devoured by the creatures. The Haudenosaunee had had enough. They formed a war party to find and destroy the evil monster bugs. 2 great canoes, filled with the bravest warriors, were launched and set to kill the beasts. The warriors were well armed for battle with bows and arrows. Fastened to their belts were their war clubs and knives. They bravely went out to fight their foe. They did not have to travel far. After paddling only a short distance down the river, the attack began. The beak of one of the mosquitoes pierced one canoe, sinking its passengers. In retaliation, the warriors in the second canoe filled the air with arrows. The battle that ensued was horrible. The warriors bravely fought on, but the mosquitoes seemed to be at every turn. Within a short span of time, more than half the warriors had been killed. Those who remained were determined to die courageously. Leaving their canoe, they planned to attack the creatures on land. The warriors took cover behind trees and bushes surrounding the mosquitoes. The evil beings were unable to retaliate, as they could not reach the warriors through the thick bushes. The Haudenosaunee sprayed the air with their arrows, repeatedly piercing the flesh of the creatures. As the battle raged on, the warriors' supply of arrows was depleting. The mosquitoes, however, could resist no longer, and, deeply wounded, fell upon the ground. The warriors struck the beasts over and over with their war clubs until the mosquitoes' bodies were torn to ruins. Suddenly, the air filled with a swarm of tiny mosquitoes buzzing about the warriors' ears. These tiny creatures had sprung forth from the blood of their huge predecessors, and they too were fond of human blood. To this day, the tiny pests attack people in retribution for the Haudenosaunee assault upon their ancestors. Dun dun. The end. But there you go, that's why mosquitoes have to exist. At least they're not giants. I think that would be worse. The next is how medicine came to the Haudenosaunees. I realize actually maybe I do know this one. We had done something. Yeah, we have read something like this one. We did read a story that was similar, I think. Correctly spelled. Yes. Always have to take a second. This is the last story of the stream. I apologize, but this will be it, and then I'll probably chat a little bit after. But yeah. How medicines came to the Haudenosaunee. The Bear Clan is attuned to spiritual well-being and medicinal healing, and the health of each village has rested in the hands of Bear Clan medicine women since the beginning of time. Read why. In a far distant time, an old man came upon a Haudenosaunee village. The old man was poorly dressed and looked tired and hungry. As he walked through the village, he looked over the doors of the long houses. Over each door was the insignia of the clan that it lived within. Oh, thank you, Cage Nightwind. You have a good night. And everybody have a good time when I'm away, but I'll say that again when I wrap up. The Turtle Clan emblem was above the door of the first lodge the old man stopped before. Poking his head inside the blanketed door, he asked for food and shelter against the night, but his request for help fell upon deaf ears, and the woman of the house told him to move on. The next long house he encountered had a snipe over its door. Again, when he asked for help, his pleas were denied. From clan to clan he went, looking for sustenance and shelter. The wolf, beaver, deer, eel, heron, and eagle clans all turned him away. Nearing the end of the village, the old man despaired as his hunger and weariness grew. He decided to try the last little home in the village with a carved bear's head above the door. An old bear clanswoman came out of the house. She took pity on the stranger. She saw how tired the old man obviously was and invited him to share whatever she had, meager though it may be. The old woman was a gracious host, giving the man food to eat and a deerskin upon which to rest. When the old man awoke the next day, he was ill with a fever. He told the old woman to go into the forest and find a particular plant. After she found the plant, she returned to her home. The old man instructed the woman on how to prepare the plant, making it into a medicine. After he took the medicine, the old man was cured. Because the old woman was so good to him, he asked to stay with her a few days. Several times during his stay, he became ill again. Each time it was a different type of malady, and each time he sent the old woman into the forest for a different herb to use as a remedy. The old man instructed the woman on the proper preparation of the herbs to cure each particular ailment. When he drank the medicine, his condition improved. When the woman returned home one day, she saw a bright light coming from within her home. When she approached the door, she came face to face with a handsome young man, whose face shone like the sun. The old woman was frightened, believing a spirit stood in her way. But the young man calmed the woman, saying, "Do not be afraid. I am the Creator. I came to the lodges of the Haudenosaunee as an old man. At each clan's lodge I asked for food and shelter and was turned away. You, good woman of the Bear Clan, were the only one to offer me assistance because you showed me compassion. I have taught you cures for all the illnesses which afflict the real people. Each time I became ill, I instructed you on the proper herbs to prepare to make me well. You have shown me kindness when others did not. For this reason I have given you the gift of knowledge to cure illnesses. From this day forward, medicine men and women will be of the Bear Clan. The Bear Clan shall always be the keepers of the medicine." The end. And there you go. That is my last story of this stream. Last story for just a couple weeks. But thank you all for being here. Thank you all you raiders that joined. I very much appreciate people that stick around after the raid, even just for a little bit. Thank you, Vi, for sending everyone my way tonight. Yeah, I'm gonna be away for a little bit, but I'll be back, and I might be starting up according to my schedule. My next stream would be on March 10th. I might start one on like the 6th, 7th or something, if I want to do a bonus one. But who knows how I'll feel by the time that comes around. I would try and do more, like when I'm away, but I'm going off to the north, and it will be a heck of a trip, and probably keep me very, very busy. We are working on. Oh, thank you for the follow. I see that pop up. We are working on a Discord, and so we will have that up soon. Thanks again, Fetster, for helping me with that. And I will look into this Stream Elements becoming a mod, and if I have to, I will annoy Vi about that. So, Violet, you have been told I might be annoying you. Yeah, I might have to redo it. I don't know. And I hope everyone has a great couple weeks while I'm away. Just put it in the chat, you mean? Or... well, I can do that. Maybe. Yes. Oh. It did. Display the name of what? Okay, I don't know what happened. Hmm? Aha! Okay, so I did it. Ooh. I'll write that down. I will absolutely write that story down. Ooh, heckin' yes. Ooh, okay. Cage Nightwind suggests. Suru no ongaishi? Is that it? Suru no ongaishi? Gaeshi? Yeah, I don't know what to do about that. I don't know shit about bots. Yep. Maybe I needed to capitalize stream elements properly? I don't know. I thought I had it before too. I don't know what happened. But okay. I've got that noted, Cage Nightwind, and so we can probably see that story eventually. I'll be moving around to all kinds of folklore stories, histories, fairy tales. When I get back, I'll probably be jumping in with some spooky times, some fairy tales, and some hand cams with origami. The Crane's Return of a Favor. Ooh, okay, yeah. Basically, I will do like randoms on creepypasta. And I've only done one stream like that, but I liked it a lot, and I want to do that. And I want to do more cryptid ones, but sometimes trying to find the like stories to read and not just an article about a cryptid can be difficult. Origami, yes. What about origami, Violet? You excited for the origami stream? Okay. Yeah. So I will end this stream. I will see you all some other time. And I'm gonna immediately bug you, Violet, unless you tell me to not bug you. To verbally walk through and not just be talking to myself about the my brain. I know what I mean. Stream elements and modding. Yes, that. Ugh. Okay. Good night, everyone, or have a good day if that's your time zone. Happy time zone. See you in a couple weeks. Bye bye.